Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Phalanges.
And I'm Daz, looking pale as a ghost in the morning.
And I'm bardOZ.
Welcome to MouseCast 87th. Happy 4th of July to all of our Americans. Actually, happy 4th of July to everyone. Celebrate just because it's a day. Subscribe. We do weekly episodes. Discord, link linked below. That's the best way to engage with us. We're also available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Gentlemen, starting with Daz, what's on your desk right now?
I got the M-Chose K7V2 with the blue gold trim here.
Beautiful.
Yep. On-round 100Ms actually feel pretty decent for once, which is a rarity for me. Skates are a little bit improved too. Mousepad, actually have a 1 of 0 desk pad. I can't show you because it's covered in stuff and things, but I also have this Pulsar Hyperion. I'll just flash real quick. And the firm, very good pad. So, what are you whipping out there, Phalanges?
Oh, sorry. I was getting rid of my garbage. I have also an M-Chose K7, but it is, I guess, a V2, but I've armor and optical swapped it and base sanded it. Still love the Viper shape. Good coating. LGG, speaking of LGG pads, Neptune Pro. Don't, like, the pad is very not unique, but I rather like it. This is in the firm, too, which is, it's not like a it's not like that firm of a base still. Anyway, and then keyboard, I have to, oh god, I can't unplug it because it'll like reinitialize. I have this monstrosity from Turtle Beach KB7 Commander with a screen, but yeah, when you plug it in, it takes about 30 seconds to boot up, and it feels like ass. It has these slots on the side with contacts, so I guess there's probably Wiimotes you can put in. Anyway, that's what I got.
All right.
Should I go?
Yeah.
So, technically, what I have on my desk, if I show you, is maybe 50 mice. So
it's our
yes. Yep. Typical reviewer desk.
So yeah, I currently have the X2 HCL Mini, which is still, I would say, my main mouse. And but simultaneously, I do have the Lycan because I'm reviewing it, and it also is a great mouse. And the CR Draco Co 1, beautiful.
Oh yeah.
I was shocked that this is 38 grams. I think I weighed it at. I don't know how they did it. Like, it weighs less than the X2 HCL Mini. And of course, I always have a GPX2 with a dongle connected because I still think Logitech is doing pretty nice things. And then PD170. Some people know that I have tried, like, I probably have 150 mouse pads, but ever since I got the PD170, I have never gone back to anything else. I've tried, but it just outperforms across every metric possible.
The level of consistency there, the base, yeah, so good. What colorway do you have on the? I guess you're like, it's white, right? Okay, the Crazy Light Mini.
Yeah, you should. I don't know if my hand cam is also working, but
it is.
I have the.
There it is.
So far, I have 2 white ones. They are sending me a red one too. And I also I wanted to try the Pulsar by You thing.
Oh,
so this is not a Crazy Light because they don't offer that. But I did want to try the service, I guess, because you can just make it your own, and it costs basically the same as a, flagship mouse. I think it was $170, something like that. You do have to pay taxes, at least in Italy, if you order it, though. That was a little bit of a bummer because they ship it directly from Korea.
Gotcha. Wish they'd extend that to the Crazy Light line. Maybe we'll see it happen someday. But yeah.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Yeah. The timing of it, the launch seemed a little bit mistimed because like it was right before Crazy Light stuff was coming up. But Daz and I were playing around with the configurator, and they don't allow bad words, unfortunately.
The filter is pretty decent, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so why don't we hop into the interview here, bardOZ? For the people who don't know who you are, who are you? What do you do?
It's a good question because sometimes I don't know how to respond to that when I ask myself the same question. I am a gamer, that's for sure. So I have basically different branches of people that know me for different reasons, and often they don't know of the rest, which is always interesting when they coalesce in my Discord and then they're like confused. So a lot of people know me for the bardOZ method or bard pill, which was an aiming training method that I came up with in 2020. when I got world records in static aiming. So that kind of known as a static aimer, but I'm also Astra complete in the voltaic benchmarks, which means that I am complete enough as an aimer. I really like grinding. So some people know me as the aimer. Some people in recent history know me as that guy on Twitter that always argues with people about technical stuff, because I got into electronics in recent history, so I built an LDAT. I posted some videos, like I'm doing some testing because I built a mouse from scratch for the firmware and everything. So some people know me as that without knowing that I'm also an aimer. And then the last set of people know me as someone that worked at Aimlabs, basically. So I am a gamer and a tech guy, specifically a computer scientist. And I always had these two tracks in parallel. Like I was actually pursuing a PhD while trying to go pro in Valorant. And then I quit the PhD and decided to go pro in Valorant, and then it didn't work out. And then I went to become a streamer, and then Aimlabs, and now here. So currently I am just someone that does whatever they want when it comes to gaming, because I love gaming so much.
Was what got you into competitive gaming, and then I guess in peripherals from the very beginning?
So I'm one of those lucky people that have an older brother. He's 11 years older than me. So his generation was more, especially in Italy, not really into shooters, but he was into fighting games. And he actually went pro in Street Fighter, even did a couple international lands. So from as far as I can remember, we had consoles and also a very early computer with MS-DOS at home. And I got super like, whoa, that's so cool. So I could start the original like point and click games with the command line interface. And then of course I never left. And I think I was a console gamer for a little bit. So I wasn't really into competitive gaming because there wasn't much really at the time, PS1, PS2. But then after PS2, I moved to PC gaming and I never left. So this was probably around early 2000s. And then I started playing like what was available, Unreal Tournament, Quake, and then I realized I really like competitive gaming, but I kind of did it across every game I could find. I was always a gamer. I played a ton of MMOs, all kinds of MMOs. Even my nickname comes from an MMO, which some people might guess. And even in those games, what I was looking for was always PvP. I didn't care about PvE, and specifically like competition, direct competition. So then I got into shooters, older shooters. Like I remember I played a lot of Warrock. I don't know if you remember that game. It was some sort of weird game. I think it was a free-to-play Warrock. Maybe a Korean. I don't know. Super old. I don't know if that.
It was like Battlefield.
Something like that. It was kind of like Battlefield. I don't know. And then actually my main shooter, where I went competitive for a bit, was a super niche game because it was GTA. This must be some newer Warrock thing. It was much older than this. I was playing GTA San Andreas multiplayer because there was a mod, so it was a super niche community on PC only because it was a mod. But there was a niche competitive community there, and I started like trying to do little tournaments with a team, and then I realized, wow, this is so fun. And someone from the community showed me a clip of a frag movie, because they were super hype at the time, a frag movie of Counter-Strike Source. And I remember the day, because it was like October 2007. I saw the video, I was like, I can't believe a game like this exists. So I bought Counter-Strike Source, and then the rest is, I never left. Like, yeah, if you look at my oldest videos, it's all like random stuff from CSGO. People, apparently sometimes YouTube recommends the 6th one, which is just me caressing the global elite. That one. I don't know why, every now and then YouTube recommends it to people, and they're like, what is this? So, yeah, as you can see, I haven't changed. 11 years ago? Damn, time flies. So, Counter-Strike never left. Like, once I got into Counter-Strike, I realized, okay, this game is amazing. And then from Counter-Strike Source, Counter-Strike Global Offensive Beta, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, and that's where I tried going pro a little more seriously, because I did more like, oh, this is very old stuff. Crazy. So I tried going pro, but I wanted to stay Italian, and there was never an Italian scene. So I represented Italy. My peak was basically being destroyed by ENS, the Finnish team in LAN in Indonesia, and then nothing else. So I realized I really love competing, even though we never made it out of like irrelevancy when it comes to Counter-Strike. But then when Valorant came out, we immediately got into it from the beta. Got Valorant, which was Radiant at the time. The rank was called Valorant. I got that immediately, and then I realized maybe this is it. Maybe this is my chance to go pro. So we had another Italian team, and we started playing very early on. We got invited to the good groups, so we could play with like tier 2 and tier 1. And I realized that actually trying to go pro sucks, because we were practicing like 8 hours a day. It's all scheduled, so it's not like you have to be there at that time. Maybe I was just too old because I was 26. Maybe had I been younger, I would have been able to do it. But I was living with my girlfriend at the time and pursuing a PhD and doing pracs full time. It was just not fun. It removed any fun I had from gaming, which was the reason I was doing it in the first place. So at that point, I kind of decided, well, actually, it went smoothly because I realized I was enjoying aim training more than playing the game at some point. Because aim training was something I was doing for the game, but I wasn't being forced to do it. And that's exactly the era that you're seeing there. Those old videos that you were showing now. And so I realized I was really good at it, maybe because of all the years of Counter-Strike and Valorant. And I started joining the communities, and people were like, there's no chance you can do this thing or this other thing. At first, I got like a good score in static, which is what ended up making me known. And they were like, well, maybe you have a good score here, but you're not a Sparky Grandmaster. They were kind of like, there's these communities, and if you're not a Grandmaster there, you're not really good. So then I was like, okay, I'm going to get Grandmaster. The fastest anyone has ever gotten it, which was 150 hours at the time, I did that. And people were like, yeah, sure, but you will never get world record in one world target small, the static task. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do. So I basically, that loop was starting to be way more interesting than actually trying to go pro. So at some point, I even started making content, and it was going really well. So the org that was sponsoring us, and I was salaried at the time, was like, hey, why don't we, since you don't want to play anymore, why don't we just change your contract so that you're going to be salaried to be a content creator? So then I was like, fuck yeah, I'm going to be a content creator doing aim training and whatever I want and be salaried. So I did that, which was, I think, 2020 or maybe, yeah, like mid of 2020. I got Twitch partner really quickly, so I was mostly streaming. And then I realized that the same thing was happening again, which is when you do something out of passion, but you make it your job, and you don't have the freedom to do it to always follow what your passion at that moment is, but you're kind of forced because there's expectations, it's just not as fun anymore. But that's when I pivoted again, and I was like, well, I did just get a master's in computer science. I mean, in all of these I was studying, so I randomly, okay, now we're moving away from the competitive side of things, because that's when I kind of put my competitive side aside. But from, age 0 to 26, it was always my main thing until I realized, okay, I don't even want to be a content creator full time. I want to do something else. And then that's when the pivot out of competitiveness happened, for a little bit at least.
Wow. Was that difficult to like change of pace from more professionalism from previously doing gaming related stuff?
So I had this idea when it came to professionalism outside of gaming, so my profession, that I didn't want to conform to what is normal, which especially in Italy is not good. Like Italian culture is really into a stable job and doing your career in a very linear fashion and not taking unnecessary risks.
You.
Yeah, so that was absolutely not my taste. So I thought that I would just never be an employee. I'm not gonna be an employee of a company. If I end up doing something in tech, I will have to do it myself, which I tried over the years. I opened a couple of LLCs, I published like a bunch of apps and stuff. But I was always doing it as a side thing, like when I was doing my master's or my PhD, so I never could fully focus on it. I did some freelancing, but then I realized, okay, so I'm playing Aimlabs and Kovacs all day, every day. I'm really good at it. But my specialty at school was Unity, so game development specifically, because I wanted to be a game developer. And I had been a TA for like hundreds of students at the point in Unity during my PhD and my master's. So I knew Unity pretty well. And my freelancing was also in Unity, and some of my store projects were in Unity. So at that point I was like, okay, I'm gonna go on the Aimlabs Discord and I'm gonna be doing something weird, which is I'll post in general chat, like, I know that Aimlabs is in Unity, and people in the community didn't know, but my specialty is Unity, even though maybe you know me here as the static guy. I'm actually like a Unity developer. Do you guys have any openings? And I got DM'd by one of the employees, which was Italian. They had 140 employees at the time, and this was the only Italian at the company, one of the QA people, Luca. And he was like, we are hiring, he had heard that they were hiring Unity positions, and told me, message this guy. Like, he just told me the nickname of the guy to message. I assumed, because I was looking for information about openings, that he would give me since it was a big company, 140 employees, just some engineer's contact. So I went to this guy's DMs. I didn't even do my due diligence, and I was just like, hey, I heard that there's openings. Like, can you tell me anything about like the company, the culture? Like, is it any good? How's the salary? Like, basically things that you would ask an employee. And then like after 20 minutes of chatting, I realized this was the founder and CEO. And at that point, Aimlabs was already like valued, I don't know, 500 million. They had raised $100 million from VCs. Really? So then I realized I DM'd a CEO of a company that's like a Series C, raised 100 million, and I'm just like, is the company any good? Like, I wanted to disappear from the world, but luckily he was the type of person that appreciated that, which was extreme luck. So he was like, you know what, go ahead, interview. So I just did, from that moment onwards, me being an aimer didn't really do anything, because the technical people that interviewed me weren't aimers. It's very rare to have a technical person that's also that deep into this domain. I'm sure you guys have noticed. So luckily I was good enough to join as a software engineer, which was 2021. And then I kind of did a little bit of the more linear progression, but extremely fast, which was, I was definitely lucky, the right person for the job, because I knew the domain so deeply, and the CEO really liked me, so that I went from software engineer, then director of Aimlabs was the title, which was director of engineering, so running a team of 15 people or so. Then I became director of product management, so big pivot. So I stopped coding. Well, I was still coding, but I was doing mostly product management, so deciding on feature and vision on the business side of things. And then VP of R&D, and then CTO at the end. And then I was like, okay, this is also something, now it's been 5 years, that I don't like doing anymore. So I asked them to let me step down to part-time, and then even that, I was like, I just want to go do my own thing. So I also quit the part-time. So it was kind of the same path that my other endeavors took, where at some point I kind of want to have the freedom to have a change of pace. So to your question, like, was it hard? I kind of am very optimistic, and so I never feel like the stuff is hard, because I just go like, what's the worst that can happen? Even though maybe if one actually stopped to think, it could be like, there's a lot of bad things that could happen. Like, the worst that can happen is that like you end up not being able to pay your bills, and like you're giving up crazy opportunities. But I'm saying it, but that never really strikes a chord, so I just go. So it was never hard, no.
What's the difference between, like, I guess in your opinion, difference between Kovacs, Aimlabs? Like, what's Aimlabs' approach to aim training, and how is that maybe different from competition?
So the biggest difference is, of course, that Kovacs went for the more normal route as a solo dev, because originally it was a solo dev, Kovac, the guy, of, I make a product and I put it on Steam, and you have to pay a little bit, so that the economics of it all and the business model is way more straightforward, right? Aimlabs went more, because it started as a startup, more from the VC world, as the growth route, where Aimlabs was free to play. Aimlabs came out before Kovacs, by the way. Most people don't know this. For some people, a lot of people think that Kovacs came out first, but no, Aimlabs was on Steam first, free to play. And then the approach was, Aimlabs caters more because it's free to play, so there's no risk involved, there's no cost, and also the UI, and of course the fact that they went big with marketing very early on. It catered more to the mainstream not already extremely cracked gamer. Whereas Kovacs, I think, always catered to people that were already kind of cracked. So, of course, that's not all. Like Kovacs, especially with Fortnite early on and Aimer 7's guide, which went kind of viral, had a bunch of people using it for improvement. But from very early on, Kovacs had a competitive community, and these communities like Voltaic, which was called Sparky at the time, that Aimlabs didn't have. So, and then it branched even more later on in terms of business model, because at some point Aimlabs had to figure out the business model to make it viable. Also, Aimlabs offers a lot of features that people, I think, take for granted, which do cost a lot. Aimlabs has replays at scale immediately, even though it has millions of users. You play a run and your friend can immediately click and see a replay of your run in game from the leaderboard. And that, from a cost standpoint, from a technical standpoint, is complex. There's a reason even like big games have, expiration policies and stuff on demos. They're pretty stringent, because at some point the delivering all of this data to people and storing it is expensive. So to make sense of that, it needed to be more like a live service, because if you keep paying for a service that you're giving out, there needs to be a stream that's not one time like Kovacs, where there's no, I mean, of course Kovacs also has ongoing costs with leaderboards, but different scales for sure. Yeah. So that's why Aimlabs went for the subscription first, which was my push as a product person, taking gym apps, like MyFitnessPal, like self-improvement apps, or even language learning apps as the idea, more so than games. With basically the idea is you pay a subscription to get features that make it more streamlined or faster to achieve your goal. So it's basically, you get all the features for free, and you get these extra premium features. So we didn't gate anything, because Aimlabs also had been free for so long that you can never go back. You can't put something that's already free and out there behind the paywall. So we came up with premium features to put behind the paywall. So very different philosophies, and that's still the case to this day.
Mm-hmm. Were there features that you wanted to implement that never saw the light of day?
Yeah, but I think so as I said, I never wanted to be an employee, which also entails the fact that I really am into business conceptually. I didn't study an MBA because I went for computer science, but I tried, I opened a bunch of what would be an LLC before. So I'm really into all of the reality of a business. So even though, yeah, of course I wanted to do things, I also knew that okay, say that we do this thing and there's millions of people that use it and it makes no money, something I super love and it's awesome, but it makes no money whatsoever, then the cool things that I want to do later will be impossible to be done, because I basically put my cool feature I want to do first, but that ate into any potential revenue which would have let me do the really, really cool stuff later on. So I was always very pragmatic. So if you ask me that, yeah, I'm sure I can come up with 100 ideas that I wanted to do, which I just knew didn't make any business sense, because maybe they were especially what the aiming communities don't see is how little of a niche we are. Aimlabs has millions of players, and a lot of them are the people that are the main players of any game, which is not the people that have 100 mice or even 2 mice. Most people have 1 mouse, and even if they play a lot, they just don't get so into this niche of hyper optimization and tweaking your settings, your peripherals, your training regime. So that's what most people playing Aimlabs are. People that are trying to improve. It's most people using MyFitnessPal aren't gonna be bodybuilders, even though probably most bodybuilders use some sort of tracking app. But that's not most of the business. So we, the bodybuilders, so the people from these communities like aiming and peripheral enthusiasts, kind of assume that everyone is like them, and then you go and you realize that the G502 is if you go by market share, I'm sure Logitech and Razer with their non-enthusiast mice probably have high 2-digit market share. So then you have to realize that's what most gamers are, PC gamers. I'm talking mice. So going back to your question, yes. There were a bunch of things I'm sure that could come up that I wanted to do, but I always made sure that I balanced my hype as a gamer, etc., with the reality of I need to serve people that are not like me. The average Aimlabs player is not someone that has been playing since they were 5 and went pro and all of it. It's someone that maybe just started keyboard and mouse because post-COVID gaming went viral and a lot of people tried keyboard and mouse for the first time. So it's hard for us to put, I think, ourselves in those people's shoes. Someone that has maybe they're a generation so young that they're iPad kids, not in the bad term, like literally from a UI UX standpoint. They're not used to, like, can you even imagine, like, we all learned, I think, using a mouse as a pointing device so early on that I can't even imagine what it feels like to learn how to use a mouse as an adult. Like, I don't have to think about using a mouse because I've been using it since I can't even remember. So that's the thing.
Yeah, typing's the same way. Like, I don't know, I took a typing class in high school and it was useless because I was playing online games and learned a lot more from
exactly, yeah.
What about, I don't know, this one's kind of off the wall. Do you have any interesting or funny stories from your time at Aimlabs? Either something you look back on fondly or something funny that, about the development or about the business that, people wouldn't know?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot because I was, like, my trajectory and everything was just so random and crazy. And I really am so thankful to Wayne and, like, to Aimlabs because, first of all, joining like that, like DMing a CEO without knowing that they're CEO and like saying things that you would never say to us, like, and then it working out is very crazy. But then, like, 3 months in, 140 employee company, and they take the risk to make me a director. Like, that could have gone so bad. And then they even let me hire a bunch of people locally here. So we even ended up with an office in Cagliari, Sardinia, Italy. And by the end, most of the engineering team was here, even though originally 140 people and was one Italian. So a lot of the stories are just like the camaraderie and like the like, it was really like the startup vibe was so cool. Like also like this is okay. The craziest thing is right now you can go to a bunch of Best Buys and there's physically a box for the ROG Carpe-X from Asus that has a card in it with my signature on it. Like, that to me is peak of my life so far. Like, the fact that I worked on a product that sold so much in retail stores, like a real product. If you search the Ace Aimlab edition, which was the first Carpe-X, there's a physical card inside of that with my signature, because I was the main point of contact at Aimlabs with Asus working on the mouse. So that's crazy. Like that, and that started like 3 months in. So I just kind of like, I joined and I had crazy imposter syndrome because it was like my first like serious job, because I never wanted a job, and I was working with these people like that I could learn so much from. And then all of these things happening, like the insane partnerships with Valorant, like seeing something that I built be shown at a Valorant like major event during the ads, like something that maybe came out of my brain or that the team worked on together. It's just so incredible. Like I had so many, I think at some point I was able to like talk to tens for like like 20 minutes in Discord call. Like these are names that I was like, they're on a monitor. They're not people that I can ever interact with in a professional capacity. So just it really was like a dream job, in the sense that how lucky was I that I don't know, the stars aligned. So everything I see with just extreme luck. I can believe it.
And you said you started there in 2020, right? Like mid
2021 is when I started Aimlabs, May 2021.
Right. So COVID was still rearing its head, but it was kind of calming down a bit. All right.
Yeah, we were out basically by the time, I would say, mostly. But we were in the effects of it, which is a lot of venture capital was going towards gaming because of how much the market grew during COVID, and basically big money had just realized how serious of a business gaming was. Fortnite having been like such an incredible like just mainstream thing, whereas I think before COVID, before Fortnite, I think competitive gaming was always kind of a niche, nerdy thing. And then it became like popular songs referencing it, like going to schools and seeing like kids. Because during my master's, we had like a couple things where we tried like teaching like block-based coding languages. There's a bunch to kids, and that was when Fortnite was going viral. And just seeing like, because I had been a kid and I had been the weird one because I was playing, you know, Counter-Strike, and now seeing kids that it was almost like you were the weird one if you weren't into Fortnite. It just changed everything. That was crazy to live through as a gamer and tech person.
So you've moved around a lot, and you seem to grab life by the horns, and then you sort of just do a really good job in one area, and then you move on. What are you doing and what you're working on right now to just sort of keep it fresh, or do you see yourself moving on again in the future?
Yeah. So I quit Aimlabs in November, and the first thing I did, I quit without a plan. Everyone was like, "Are you insane? So you're quitting like such a good job just because?" Yes. But I knew that I didn't have a plan, but I had a direction, right? I like gaming and tech, and there's so much overlap, and I have gone so deep in so many of the sub niches that I can see all the problems that exist. So the first problem I saw was something that I've been talking about for a long time, since 2021, when I got the world record in one world circuit small, which is I got it with the Outside AX, the wired Vaxi Outside AX. And I couldn't understand why I would get the world record that was also uncontested for like 2 years or 3 years with such a niche mouse that was kind of heavy and wired and ergo and bulky. And I realized then that, yes, exactly, you know exactly what I'm talking about by putting the donk grip video. I realized that a low sensor position was valuable for a certain type of aim, specifically arm dominant low sensitivity aim that is very focused on precise micro corrections, because when you have a low sensor position, you end up being able to move your wrist more for micro correcting than you could if you had a higher sensor position. So I realized the sensor position thing is important, and then I got familiar with a paper that a lot of people know in the scene, which is from Kai 2020, if I recall correctly, from some Finnish researchers, which is people usually cited about Punnage. Or Ornage, I don't know how they want their name to be read.
But they reference it.
Yeah, they reference it, and that's why. But I have some of my... So, as I said, I was pursuing a PhD. My PhD was in computer graphics, so 3D graphics, and generative AI, before generative AI was cool. Because if you say that now, like, ugh. But no, ChatGPT was way... Like, this was 2018. So, generative AI was, like, generation of, like, images mostly. It had just come out, and I wanted to generate 3D models with generative AI, which is now a thing. There's startups like Meshi and stuff to do it. That was my PhD. So I am familiar with academia, and of course Kai is the main human computer interaction conference. So I'm very familiar with the paper. I have some issues with the methodologies, which I don't blame them, because you kind of need to be really, really into the domain. But they used Aim Booster, which was an old 2D web-based aiming thing, as the benchmark. So I don't want to go into a whole like dissertation on what I think. Their conclusion was it matters, but not by that much. And it seems like center is best. I think the conclusion leaves a lot to be desired, because I think, no, you have to add a bunch of constraints that are very relevant in the real world to really answer that. And I think you will find out it's much more meaningful than you think from the paper, even though the paper already says it's meaningful. But then I realized, first of all, that because of a couple loud voices, and this happens all the time in our space, like, for example, for a long time, it was, I mean, I've been in this space for so long that I've seen so many. Early on, before people knew that high DPI at the maximum level was just a gimmick, people didn't know that. So when I bought my first gaming mouse, which was a Logitech G9, probably in 2008 or so, people did think that higher DPI equals better. Because maybe all it takes is a couple loud, uninformed people that are confident to establish a status quo that actually has no basis in reality. And I think in recent history, we've seen that with high sensor position a little bit. Because people just say, high sensor position is better because it's close to your fingertips. Which, it's one of those things that it might sound logical, but then you stop to think about it and you're like, this is a non sequitur. Like, it doesn't actually follow logically from the premises. It could be in some cases, but there's a lot to be analyzed. I don't like when people just take something for granted without actually analyzing it. So that was like the context, and I was like, okay, I want to make a mouse where the original thing was I opened all of my GPX mice and I started printing and designing custom bases that would move the PCB lower, so I could try a lower sensor position GPX. I still have a bunch of the experiments around. I mean, as you saw earlier, finding things here is not that easy, but something like this. So where I designed bases where I could move the PCB physically, and I realized what this feels very different. First of all, very noticeable. It's an extremely noticeable difference compared to basically any other parameter of a mouse. And in the cases that I had pointed out, it does seem to give me an advantage. So then I realized, okay, I'm gonna make a mouse with a low sensor. That was the original thing. I'm gonna make a mouse with a low sensor. How does one make a mouse? And then I was like, okay, now I'm unemployed, and I said I'm gonna try whatever. I don't have infinite money, of course. Like I need to make money at some point. Also because I have expensive hobbies, like buying a billion peripherals. So I started without a clear goal. I started teaching myself electronics. So I learned soldering, and I started with Arduino, then ESP32, then STM32, and then finally I got into the Nordic world, which is just better when it comes to wireless peripherals. And I started building little things. I had an old Steam controller. I took it apart and I reverse engineered the. I think it's a company called Cirque that does the trackpad. Because I thought it was really cool. This was before they announced the new Steam controller. It was the original Steam controller. So I reverse engineered that, and it was like super fun. So I got super into that, and I focused on that. And I realized, you know what? Since I'm running the firmware myself, I'm doing the electronics myself, and I'm also doing all the CAD for the mouse shape myself. I'm just gonna make a dual sensor mouse, like they say in the paper, because with two sensors you can have a virtual sensor position. So I don't need to keep making new mice to figure out where the optimal sensor position is, because I can just change it from software. So I did that, and at that point I realized, okay, so I spent this was probably March. I spent the last 5 months or so. I learned electronics. I have this thing. I learned CAD. Fusion 360. I made the shape. I went through a bunch of iterations. I wrote the firmware 3 times for ESP, STM, and now Nordic. It works. It's 8K Hertz, wireless. I have done everything. The firmware for the dongle, the firmware for the mouse. It is dual sensor. I can change it from Web HID. Where do I go from here? And I basically thought, okay, if I was in the US, every mentor from the US wants me to patent the so the visual sensor was the start, and then I realized, okay, wait. I'm basically realizing that, hey, I'm writing my own firmware opened up like a bunch of possibilities. Because with 2 sensors now, I can take this data from the 2 sensors, and the virtual sensor is just a start. But there's so many ways in which you can coalesce it, because now you have a mouse that is aware of its rotation when it's on the mouse, but it knows how it's moving, not just as a translation, but also how it's rotating as it goes. And of course, if you're the manufacturer, you know where the sensors are within the mouse. So then, without spoiling all the things that I came up with, because they're still going to be relevant, I came up with a bunch of other algorithms that made it insanely cool, and that one already notices having an effect, like the moment you use the mouse. That's when I realized, though, this is fun, but I don't want to have a hardware company, because hardware companies iterate in the months, and I'm someone that gets bored of things quickly, and I'm a software guy. So if I open a hardware company, even if I use a Kickstarter, etc., and then I have to wait for the company in Shenzhen to send me an engineering sample, and it's gonna take 2 months, and then another 2 months, I'm gonna go crazy. So that's where I was like, okay, no plan, this is cool, and I still think this should be one of my main things, but let's do something software related, and that's FindMyMouse. So as you can see, it's not like there's a plan. I was just I had the domain for a long time, by the way, way before. I had the domain for 2 years before doing anything with it, because I always thought, because people keep asking me nonstop to this day, how do I choose a mouse? How do I find my mouse? How do you find your mouse? What's your best mouse? Blah blah. That there's a need that is definitely not, solved by what's available currently. At the time, Elo Shapes, of course, didn't have 3D models yet, and mice being extremely organic shapes requires 3D if you really want to see the nuances, especially of the sides, which you guys are familiar with. I've seen the podcast where you talk about FindMyMouse and Elo Shapes. So I did that. And then, since then, I kind of started talking to companies and potential investors for... Basically, as you can see, FindMyMouse isn't my project. It's part of the the overarching plan of I want to improve gaming and esports competitively on computers for now. Like that's my goal. I want people to make sure that their skill expression is maximized. That I want them to know that anything left is purely due to them requiring more training or something that is not related to peripherals. Like I want to get peripherals out of the way of people. That's my real mission. So all of this is tied to that. So I started going to investors and such, and I can't say any details, but I would probably be founding a company of which FindMyMouse will be one of, or let's say part of the overall platform. So I can't give any details, but basically, probably I hope to be able to say years from now that I was again very lucky, but it seems like maybe the stars are aligning again and I'll be able to build something really cool and make it my full-time thing and be funded so that I can also actually build a company around these things that I want to do. So right now I'm unemployed and gaming, and hopefully I'll be an entrepreneur if you ask me that in a couple of months.
Yeah, you can see the groundwork with FindMyMouse. You have the community tabs, the review features. Mouse Guesser is fun, of course.
I think something that people are sleeping on is the journal feature. I think is super cool, but I need to make it more friendly. Basically, what happens is always, but this is very niche. But I think with the right UI, it can be less niche.
Is it a blog?
No, basically it allows you to journal your performance as it relates to your mice. So always in my life, I try to answer which mouse do I perform best with by having Google Sheets or Excel before then. This is something I've done for so long. Finding something that I can quantify, maybe it's like my accuracy over a couple games, or in Valorant, it could have been like the practice range or Kovacs results, Aimlabs results, etc. And I always try to like find statistical like patterns that could tell me the answer, because I'm also like eagerly trying to figure out what mouse is the best for me. And I just kind of wanted to make it more of a platform. So that's the journal thing. Right now it's very much like a UI that allows you to add your entries. It's very customizable, and then it basically builds the visualizations and highlights patterns for you. And so that's something that of course kind of hints at the direction I'm gonna take this whole thing as a more like holistic platform to solve people's problems in the field. And that's something that I like, the convert. My favorite feature that I use all the time for this feature, the convert, is the save CM360 to your account. So basically I play a lot of games, and I also cycle through a bunch of different sensitivities. So you can save them as quick CM360 if you're logged in, and they're saved to your account. So then you can just like choose the game, click a thing, and it immediately gives you the thing. So I can just like open.
I didn't realize
I'm
you
playing
had this.
Overwatch.
This is so much
also
better than
the other feature that I like here is of course to highlight. Yeah, MouseTester.com is. I think they need to update their UI UX.
It's messy.
I think I was subscribed to MouseTester.com probably more than 10 years ago, and I think the UI was basically the same. So I tried doing something a little easier, and of course the other thing that made it go a little viral is what it says, mouse conversion. The sensor position adjustment, the sensor position aware sensitivity adjustment. So you can choose a source mouse and an end mouse, and then it builds those visualizations there, where basically it shows so that people can understand the effect, where even if you keep the same sensitivity, the arcs drawn by the mouse as it rotates are different lengths. So this was, I think it's not that useful because it's not like people are changing mice every day and they want to convert sensitivity, but a bunch of people that did change mice used it, and they were like, now it feels much more at home, because I think most people perceive that effect of the different sensor position relative to your wrist as DPI deviation, when it is not DPI deviation. What you're perceiving is that now the same amount of wrist movement is mapping to a shorter or longer arc. So I wanted to basically make a little tool to visualize that, and that's what the convert feature currently does. And then of course, the main feature, the 3D comparison.
That is so
Even a lot of what people think is maybe like a mouse feeling more responsive or a sensor being better or there's some placebo effect really could just be this conversion happening and they don't realize it.
That's exactly what I think. That's why I made this. I need to fix that. Right now, yeah, the orbit controls don't work well, but most people do not interact with it. I do have analytics to try to improve the UI UX. But yeah, that's exactly it. I'm pretty sure a lot of people change a mouse and there's something they feel is different. Sometimes they realize that it's a sensitivity difference, and of course, if you don't know this, you go straight to DPI deviation. Maybe the DPI feel different, whereas it's actually due to the different sensor position. That's kind of what I'm trying to put out in the world. People need to be more aware of the effect of the sensor position.
And what you said about removing peripherals from the equation as to like how you perform, like really resonated with me, because I think that's sort of like the root of why I started reviewing mice, because I wanted to find like the optimal this or the optimal that, and it even sort of relates to playing golf, which is killing me right now because I need to get fit for irons, but I have no time to play. So like, why would I go fit when my game sucks? But remove the equipment and just taking away the excuse that you can blame something beside your own performance and like effort is honestly a good way to improve, and it blocks a lot of people not doing that. So
yeah, I think the best peripheral in general tool or for sports, but in general, I think the best tool is the tool that you forget you're using, because ultimately a tool is something you use to get to a goal, and the more you feel like the tool is in the way, the worse of a tool it is. So I think the end game is, again, I want people to know that it's not, and really be confident, feel that it's not the tool that's holding them back.
Yeah, you shouldn't be thinking about what you're using, because then you're not thinking about what you're doing as much. 100%.
Yeah.
I think Tekkusai talked about that was the idea behind polarity, is it should be a pad that you're using and you should be thinking about the pad while you're using it. But that's just a concept for performance in general.
The PD170 is kind of like that for me, but I think that's why I haven't done the review yet. Reviewing mousepads is hard, honestly, because
Yes.
they're not as quantifiable as mice, and people want answers, whereas sometimes it's really like, I think I'm pretty good at putting in words the actual things that matter, but they won't matter for everyone. But that's why I love the PD170. It feels like it's never in the way because it's fast, and the interaction with my skin, which is something that I keep reiterating when it comes to mice, because the way I grip the mouse, my fingers do touch, the tips of my fingers do touch the pad, and also, of course, this little meaty area of my hand and the forearm. And the fact that I can do this, like actually pushing my hand down, and it basically has a similar friction profile to the mouse skates itself, is what makes it feel so freeing, and I've never felt that. Glass is the worst offender when it comes to that, because the delta between skin friction on glass versus PTFE friction on glass is insane. Hence sleeves. But even with sleeves, I still, unless using a full like glove and sleeve thing, which would make me go insane in terms of like comfort, I still have the issue because my fingers still have it. So the PD170 for me is exactly that. I found the tool when it comes to mousepad that I forget it's never in the way.
I was just doing that press down and test on a bunch of mouse pads, and yeah, that's a good test actually.
Of course, some people grip, like some people use sleeves and they grip so that their fingers don't touch the pad. For those people, it won't be as relevant. That's why I try telling people, like, people like demand, like, okay, so which one is better, like Type 99 mid or? It depends, and people don't want to hear it depends, but the truth is it depends. So that's why I kind of want to use my tech skills to make that it depends into some sort of interactive solution for you that can make the it depends basically search in this it depends space for your specific it depends automatically without you having to talk to someone like me for 2 hours.
Earlier you mentioned using FindMyMouse's data for continuous improvement. What patterns have you noticed from user data?
So, I mean, right now, I'm just using it. Right now, I'm focused on improving SEO and retention, because I want to make sure that if a feature isn't used, why even waste UI for that? What I've noticed is that people use it exactly as you would expect. So the most used features are like clicking on, like you're doing, like changing the view, the top, left, right, those are really used. But then, for example, one of the features that I've noticed is actually not that useful, even though me being a nerd, I really wanted it, is the heat map, which even now, if I try to explain it, it would take long. And the data prove that, yeah, if even me trying to verbally explain to you is long, then it will never be popular, because it means that it's not good UI UX. So I want to rethink the heat map feature, which allows you to basically see drawn on the mouse how far the surface is in either direction from the mouse you're comparing it to. It's just very hard to verbalize, very hard to explain. So I've noticed that people want, once again, the tool to be out of their way, right? And I think people really like FindMyMouse because it's very familiar to anyone that interacts with 3D environments, which is very common for gamers. Because anytime you interact with a 3D scene, this is how it functions, you know? So people are used to like clicking and dragging for rotating and using the scroll wheel and the right click for panning if needed, or similar, you know, sets of features. So I'm surprised that people, this is what really surprised me, is how many people use the social functions. Like if you, for example, if you look at the OP18K, it has 111 ratings. So if you go to the browse tab, the first tab, the homepage of the website, basically, you can see that the vote 8.8 out of 10 comes out of 111 votes. And I'm surprised because I haven't done what I believe is going to be the push to get people to really use the community features. So what I'm surprised is, it feels like there's a need. People do, what I said on my tweet about my anime list, people do like being able to participate with their voice on these things, which happens all the time on Reddit and such, even though I am yet to really flesh out the community features on the platform. So that surprised me. Like, I thought it would be completely like no ratings forever, but if you go to browse and you scroll down, you see how many mice have at least, you know, 10 people that have rated them, and it's a lot. If you remove the search from the, if you just refresh the page so that you see all the mice here, or remove and press enter, which I have to improve to as a UI UX, and you scroll down, you see how many, all of these mice have people that actually rated them from 1 to 10, and all of these people connected their accounts. Like that really surprised me, just how many people were willing to participate in this and help others basically with their experience with a product. For example, I'm pretty sure for Logitech, yeah, the GPX Superlight 2 and GPX Super Strike, like Superlight, it's interesting to see the Superlight 2C is rated higher than the 2, for example. I'm sure there's a lot of bias from my community here, like the OP18K being the #1 rated smells like AIM community from a mile away, but that's it, right? My user base so far, because I haven't done any serious push, and I'm still slowly building up SEO, which is where Elo Shapes is, of course, 100 billion kilometers ahead of me, because I'm sure most of Elo Shapes traffic is organic, SEO driven. My traffic so far has been like me, my Twitter, and then people like slowly like word of mouth, and I can see it from the statistics. So you can kind of see the effect of that on the ratings. I'm sure when this goes more mainstream, the ratings will probably reflect more of the actual overall market rather than the aiming sub niche.
Yeah, Logitech will be higher and Game Gear lower.
So I do think that.
Oh, go ahead.
The Logitech is a weird beast. I think a lot of Logitech users do not like it and openly say, especially once they try other mice, because it's a boring shape, etc. But I think deep down they know that they still perform really well with it, which is an open question that I have. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, do you have any concern like someone who's less versed in mice might just come to this page and look for the highest rated mouse and buy it without knowledge? Or do you have any plans to sort of flesh out the rating system and explain it a bit more, I guess, to users?
So I've played around with what is shown when you go to browse. Right now it has it's prioritizing based on ratings. I've also tried prioritizing just by recently added or just like by name. The issue is that I can't really know what people do after. I have affiliate links, like if you click buy, it will go to Amazon, and then if you buy, I get an affiliate cut. But it's not like I don't know what you bought. So that part is kind of outside of the funnel I can reconstruct. So also, to be fair, the OP1, I'd be more worried if the very vocal sub-niche of fingertip mouse lovers was ranking really high. But,
right.
If someone buys an OP18K because it's top one, like, the top one is OP18K, and then you have VV3 Pro, GPX Superlight 2. In terms of number of ratings and overall rating, like these are all, I think, safe choices. Like the only thing that scares me of my own page is that the Fenrir SM8K ranks so high, and that's where you can really see the the sub niche going hard, but yeah. So,
do you have
I don't know.
Do you have a personal favorite shape or shapes?
So I've known for a long time that I like mice with a tall hump and a back tall hump like the X2H, because I when I got the ZA shape in 2015 or so, that was the main shape that I used for quite a long time, and I think that was the first mainstream shape that really focused on a tall hump that's closer to the base of your palm. The way I grip with my claw, I like the shape. So currently my favorite shape is the X2H CL Mini. Why Mini and not medium? Because I think that ultimately weight is super important. Like, I know that it's still an open debate, but I think the lower the weight, the better, always. I think it's a universal truth. Nice. Is that, see, the thing is that the is that the black X2H CL, or is that, okay, yeah.
It's green.
Yeah.
This is Founders.
Oh, it's green.
That's non-CL, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's not gonna
It's non-CL like my custom.
Like
yeah, the PCB is different. You can recognize from the PCB. But yeah, I think basically the only negative of low weight is that usually you have to go smaller, and the negative of going smaller is that usually you decrease the surface area that's in contact with your skin, which usually decreases stability. So the equation for me is I want to maximize low weight and minimize the cost of removing surface area that touches me. So the X2H CL Mini is 39 grams, but it has a large amount of surface area that allows me to increase stability, especially because I am very flicky and I play very, very low sense even in real games. And I focus on static aiming for pushing world records, even though I do have Astra and everything. That is kind of like the best. And that's why I also really love the Lycan. But it has a high sensor, so.
I was going to ask you what your thoughts on G-Wolf sensor positions were. Yeah.
I think the Lycan would be my end game if it had a normal sensor position. That's it. Like, I think they are the overall thoughts on G-Wolves is that. So the reason they have a high sensor position is caused by a good thing, even though I believe the result is not good, which is they are the only company that is actually able to listen to even more niche crowds, like the crowd that was pushing for high sensor position, and act on it. Because usually you either have like the companies that could act on it because they're, you know, big enough that they're not just slightly changing an OEM, but they actually can do their own stuff, and they don't listen to people. And then you have the companies that will listen to people, are not large enough or just capable enough to actually do innovative things based on what the people are saying. So G-Wolves, I think, is peak. They actually listen and they try things out, and they try things that I think I've said this before. I would take the innovation from the Lycan and Warg and like this like threshold PCB with no base over the hit system from Logitech 100 times out of 100. I think this is way more relevant than the hit system from Logitech, for example. I think this is real innovation.
Wow. Well, yeah, there goes your take for hits then. Because I know that's a hot topic and some people are like, I'm never going back. It is really cool to be able to just click feel with software. I mean, that's actually incredible, aside from any sort of latency improvements, which I think that's a whole controversial thing, right? How they actually evaluate that.
I think that once again, people are using something that sounds logically true, which is we know analog switches are great from the world of keyboards, therefore they must be great on mice, which is to me again a non sequitur, because they are great on keyboards because keyboards have very relevant travel distance on keys that was actually taking time physically, and it's also a larger physical area that you're pressing. It's just if you actually measure with a high FPS camera how long it takes to on a mechanical keyboard to actually get to actuation after you start pressing, it is, you know, I've measured it to be like up to a millisecond of purely like travel time, and probably even more if you're not ready. But when you're aiming with a mouse, usually you're already pre-tensioning enough that the benefit of a normal SPDT micro switch. Another pet peeve of mine is how many people are thinking that SPDT is using the normally closed pin fluctuation. Basically, SPDT is just every micro switch for like ever that is mechanical. That's something that is a pet peeve of mine. Like the Zowie from 2015 or Logitech from 2008 were already SPDT switches. So that part triggers me of the way people use SPDT. But if you take an SPDT switch, so a mechanical micro switch, I think that the benefit versus making a keyboard, an analog keyboard, is completely different. Because when you release a key on a keyboard, you go all the way up. It's not like you're going to be pretensioning a mechanical key on a mechanical keyboard to be right around actuation and then click when you need to press it. So it's a non sequitur. It's not that just because it's good on keyboards, it needs to be good on it's going to be good on mice. I don't see that as a logical conclusion.
So earlier you mentioned innovation, like more innovation in what G-Wolves is doing. Are there other things that are genuinely innovative in your mind, or a path for innovation that you see going forward?
I think that mice have basically stagnated since the first G Pro wireless, not even the G Pro X Superlight, because going lighter is nice, but unless you're doing it in a very like dramatic way, like the Lycan, where you have something this large at 28.8 grams, which does feel crazy. It's been very incremental. I struggle to call that real innovation. You know, properly implemented wireless was really innovative. Like the difference was really large at scale. Of course, for the average person, like they're gonna feel a difference immediately. Then you had people like us probably that had like the mouse bungees and maybe even paracorder mice. We were focusing on mice with, okay, maybe it wasn't that great of a change for some of us, but normal user goes from a wired to a wireless mouse, they feel like freedom to move without feeling the tension depending on where you're on the mouse pad. And before then, the big innovation was, of course, going from, well, of course, the tracking ball to optical sensors, and then removing laser sensors from the equation was really good because they were pretty bad. So that was the innovation before then. And then it was like mostly innovating on shapes and kind of like standardizing them to the world we're in now, whereas we had way weirder shapes before, like the MX518 and such. So those are kind of like the big jumps forward in mice. But then since the first G Pro Superlight, G Pro wireless, I think that the difference between the GPX Super Strike and the G Pro wireless is less than the difference between the G Pro wireless and the MX518 by orders of magnitude. So it's been very stagnant in my opinion, and that's why people try to hype up all of these irrelevant things. First of all, people make claims on sensor performance and MCU performance that are completely unfounded. Completely. Like this love for the 54H20 should be a love by the manufacturers because it streamlines firmware development because you don't need to have a RISC-V coprocessor on the dongle, etc. And it makes it way easier to actually hit a stable 8K hertz. But most companies had already figured out how to write proper radio protocols for the 52840. So in reality, for most implementations, you won't have any benefit. It's not like these Cortex chips are going so fast that, and I've written it and I've seen like where are the cycles going. A mouse doesn't have to do that much. It's doing the SPI read on the sensor, so it's reading the data from the sensor, and then it sends it to the radio, which is its own, path. And then most of the cycles, it's not doing anything. So it's not like having a faster chip is going to do much. But people think, again, because these things sound logical, faster chip equals better. But like, no, because that's extra speed is already, we're talking megahertz. It's not going to do anything for you. The real benefit of the 51st20 is, of course, power efficiency and the fact that it supports USB high speed. It has a USB high speed PHY on board, so that you don't have to deal with having multiple MCUs because the 52840 doesn't have high speed, so that you can do 8K hertz. So basically, I'm saying this to me is a symptom of how little innovation there's been, where companies trying to hype up things are completely irrelevant and would have never been hyped up when we were moving forward at a faster speed. So where do we go from here? This, like mechanical engineering improvements like this, so that we can go lighter while maintaining volume, I think is super important. And the other thing to me is of course, as I said earlier, I think that a single optical sensor is insufficient to maximally allow for skill expression in a player. I think it is unreasonable to believe that we got it right the first time. We haven't changed after we moved away from mice with the trackball inside. We have not moved forward in actual tracking technology at all. Like the original laser and optical sensors from Office Mice in early 2000 are basically the same as now. Of course, they improved tracking accuracy, resolution, etc., but they have not fundamentally changed what it does. And it has some strong limitations, is what I've been saying. So we need to move forward and find a new pointing device that allows mechanical skill to be maximally translated to the game. I think the dual sensor or virtual sensor and everything that I don't want to go in detail about, because I still want to do stuff with it, is going to be a step forward. The way I put it for people is, if your big innovation is something that most people can't even notice, it can't be a big innovation. Or the fact that a lot of pros are going back to the GPX2 that had the GPX Super Strike and were like on Twitter saying how it feels crazy, but then they were also using the actuation distance that makes it basically like a micro switch, was already showing like, okay, so the same people are saying it's life-changing, but they're not using one so that it actually has all the benefits of like you would do on a keyboard for WASD, but they're using it so that they still have to move as much as they would move a normal micro switch. And now they're also going back because the price to pay is the forward extra weight, because it's very unbalanced, the Super Strike compared to the GPX2, and that can be felt. Then it can't be real innovation. Or like people that are like, oh well, the 3950 is better than 3950. I think the 3995, 3950, 3955, or even the I need to be careful here because I did sign an NDA with Pixar, so I don't want to put myself in trouble. But even the newer named sensors that they allow, companies like Razer and now there's a bunch, right? Pulsar to name. I guarantee that if I create the same mouse with all the way to the unreleased 2 generations ahead Pixar sensor, 3955, 3950, 395, and I ask someone to tell the difference, they would all be unable to tell the difference in a blind test. Everyone. No matter whether on Reddit they're going to claim they're like, no, it feels completely different. False. Also, there's so many variables all at once that maybe what you're feeling is that it's not that you're feeling that. I have the Lycan with the 3950 and 3955 and they feel exactly the same to me. Absolutely the same. So that's not real innovation, right? People want you to think that it's real innovation, but if I can't even tell the difference, it's not real innovation to me. Whereas if you try something like the visual sensor and you go from like a sensor that's here to a sensor that's here, anyone, like even my grandma, would be able to get 10 out of 10 blind test because it feels completely different when you use it. I have a small video where I was showing that the visual sensor position from the 3955 is false. It's on my Twitter. But basically, I showed that what they're doing with the 3955 on 80K is just lowering the DPI on the X.
Oh, yeah, we talked about this on MouseCast. Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, it's absolutely false. A real sensor position functions. Yeah, if you go to the end of this, I show my mouse, the mouse I built in that video. Not at the end of the video. No, the video itself. Yeah, if you go towards the end, I show my mouse that I built with a dual sensor and how it actually acts when you have a real virtual sensor. And you can even see, if you see my hand move, the difference is crazy because you move your arm and it moves the same amount. You move your wrist and it moves like half as much. As we are used to moving both our arm and wrist as we aim, the difference in perceived, it's so perceivable by anyone. So it's definitely more innovative. Maybe it's useless, like time will tell whether it's an improvement. But if you're innovating on things that someone can not even feel, and then you have to leverage placebo or people claiming things that are completely unsubstantiated as your marketing, it's not innovation for me. And I know these are kind of a controversial take, but
that's cool. I didn't realize you did this at the end of the video. You should, dude. You should do a YouTube video, like clip this.
Yeah, I kind of kept my mouse a little low key in general because I didn't know my go-to-market strategy, and I still am not too sure. And it depends from I don't want let's call them investors or whoever I'm going to be working with and what we decide on doing. So
Yeah.
I kind of used it here as an example, but I don't want to put the spotlight on the fact that, yes, I mean, this thing exists and it has existed for like 3 months and I've built it from scratch and it works 8K Hz wireless, fully custom firmware, 2 sensors with the web HID. Because I show at the end that I have a, that's that UI that you see on my browser is my web HID thing. I can change. But I did all of that myself. You know, most companies, there's like a couple companies write their own firmware. Most of them buy it from a couple of Chinese companies that sell the same firmware to everyone for the specific MCU and Pixar combo. And not many people are doing it on their own. So
have you
I don't want to too much of a spotlight there. So I've talked to a bunch of companies that have suggested or even asked. Basically, they're like, "Hey, look, we pay this company in China," which maybe I don't want to say the name, and like the business model is they actually end up being like a commission on every unit. You should probably be doing like, since you build this from scratch and it's very rare and you have this like fully vertical thing, you should consider maybe building a consultancy business and focusing on like the B2B side of things and working with companies like that. It's just not very exciting to me. You know, at Aimlabs, it was beautiful because we had millions of users, thousands of concurrent users. So any iteration, anything that came from my brain, I could immediately put in the hands of like so many people and then see what happened. And that is such a dopamine loop in the world of software where you can do the quick iteration, the CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous delivery, that I don't like the idea of like consulting. So I've thought about it, and some companies, some mouse manufacturers have even proposed it. It's just not to my taste. I think I will do some B2B. I don't know if I think even FindMyMouse has potential for some B2B, and I like that idea as long as the platform. And I'm not talking like activations or stuff like that. That's boring. I'm not saying B2B as in you pay me and I put something on my website. No, quite different. More like you pay me to integrate something in your website. So it's purely like a SaaS, basically. I like that idea. Because I think ultimately aligns with my vision of like, now if you're going on this other website, you get the benefits that I want so that you have a better idea of what you're buying. Basically, it aligns with what I want. But my main thing is the B2C, always.
Yeah, I get that. Wow, we covered, I think, a lot of the other questions, like favorite mouse pad. I think PD170 is a solid recommendation you're giving. Favorite mouse?
So it's my favorite, but I don't know if it's a recommendation I would give. I would still recommend the Zero Soft as the eyes closed. I don't know, you have to buy one for the rest of your life. I would still say the Zero Soft, the safer choice, because the 170 is very fast. Like I think especially if you're playing tactical shooters, you do need a level of mouse control that I can just gamble that you have not to just shake off target. So when people just ask me for one, I'm like, best bang for your buck, I still say QCK Plus. I think people sleep on it because you can get it for like $10 and it's definitely good enough, but it's terrible if compared to premium mouse pads that cost way more. But still like crazy value for your money, because it costs so little that for the cost of like an artisan, you can probably on a good day buy 10 of those, and when it gets unusable, because they do get unusable, you just switch to the next QCK Plus. So I'm still a fan of the QCK Plus, which is also a super unpopular take in the enthusiast community. But I trust my hands and my feeling. But Artisan Zero Soft to me is still just beautiful. It's still my top 2 personal favorite, and still what I would recommend to everyone if I don't know anything about them.
Yeah. Favorite FPS? I mean, you said CS has been what you've always go back to.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's a mouse you would love to see remade?
MX518.
Yeah.
So my main mouse for the longest time was the G400S. I fell in love with it. I even changed my grip, which I've never done. I've changed my grip to fit it. So I used to grip, I still have it. I used to grip it like this, 3 fingers on top, which is not my natural grip. But I still like perform so well with it. It's when I kind of like explore. You know, remember that video where I was caressing the Global Elite? It was all with the G400S. I would love to see, even though it would be a terrible business decision because they've tried with the MX518 Legendary wired. I would love to see a super light wireless MX518. That would be amazing. I don't think anyone will ever do it. Or maybe people are now gonna probably say no, but there's this Chinese company that has a very similar. Maybe, but that's just a shape that I would love to see.
This Flickshot 3D printer guy published 3 days ago, introducing Project Aurora Pro, a lightweight homage inspired by the legendary MX518, reimagined in PA12 nylon. Secure yours
Flickshot,
now.
the company. I do have. They sent me one of their mice to.
Yeah, that's the company.
Scan.
It's just this one dude, and he's like really active and stuff. But I feel like his stuff never gets traction. Maybe I'm wrong.
Man, I would love to try it. Does it say how much he's gonna weigh, or how much he weighs? Because that could be so interesting. I might be the only person buying it, like 2 other people that have been gaming for 25 years or something. But we're gonna be very.
This is Mad R internals. Okay.
Mad R internals. Okay. He gives a weight range for flick mice in general being 28 to 42 grams.
But this is very large, though.
42.5.
Okay, so this is the
this
very
is very
high
low
range
density. Yeah.
It is definitely very low density. For at that size, I would love to try it.
And he says inspired too, so that means I assume he made tweaks.
It looks basically exactly like the. I mean, it's always hard to tell from images, hands, 3D models.
Maybe you should reach out for a review sample because it sounds like he needs some marketing behind it with 8 uploads.
Yeah, they reached out to me for. I don't remember what their first products. I mean, I have it on my website, so let me check. Which mouse am I using? Oh, this is the problem that I always have. I have too many mice, and every time I'm like, which one is connected?
Yup.
Yeah, I have the Edge. They sent me the Flick Edge.
Flick Edge.
Wait, is this Flickshot or Flick? Is it different companies?
Flickshot is different.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Okay. No, then I have to reach out to Flickshot.
Okay. Yeah, the Flick Edge.
We need more. We need weirder names in our space.
Yes. One company reached out recently with like a list of 20 names, and I was like, 20 of these all sound like your existing mouse. Like, give me a word I've never heard before.
Yeah,
I'll remember it.
Yeah.
Like, we need weirder names. The people need to start making, I don't know, words up, but it is too much.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Even Edge, isn't there like a... No, maybe not, but there's like a burst from Rocket, right? No, is it... There's too many recurring names in our world.
It's insane. There's even recurring alphanumerics. Like, it's utterly ridiculous that if I
mean, some of them on purpose, right? Like YouTube or whatever. Like, so
if I just on Elo Shapes, if I search X3, we have Pulsar X3, Attack Shark X3. Yeah. Anyway. Oh, hi, dog. Okay. What about, do you talk to other creators or influencers?
Kind of a lot. Especially, of course, aiming people. Like Viscos, Maddie. I talk to a lot. And I do get a lot of. I talk to a lot of pros because they tend to reach out asking me for like the same questions that non-pros ask, like what's a good mouse, but every time I'm like, I don't know, it depends. So it's not like the people that I really talk to a lot in terms of just chatting and such are mostly recently people from the gaming community, because I got back into it and I got shared world record, and now I'm top 2 in one World Series Small again, which probably people didn't expect because I was already old for internet standards at 26, and they were like, "You're too old to get a world record," and now I'm 32 almost, and they're probably like, "Wait, how are you still getting the world record?" And the reason is because I'm spending so much time playing aim training. Therefore, I'm talking mostly to aim training content creators and a couple mouse reviewers and mouse people in general. I've been talking to, not like religiously, but a little.
Are there any reviewers that you actually watch?
So I tend not to really watch reviews for mice unless it's a mouse that I because I mean usually you already get it. You form but also it's usually I watch reviews on something that I'm deciding whether I want to buy or not, and usually when it comes to mice, by the time it even is in the like talking of a possible purchase, I buy it because I justify it to myself, like I'm gonna scan it for FindMyMouse, and it's a passion and I've been collecting them for so many years. So I don't get to the point with which I do for other things where there's this thing that might be interesting, I'm gonna go look at a review to decide whether or not to buy it. Because even if it's something that is not that interesting to me, I would still buy it. Like I recently bought a G403, another GPX2. So this is my 5th GPX2 because I wanted this color. And and of course I bought the G305X super light because I did love the original G203 and then G Pro. A lot of people don't know that the original G Pro was this shape, not the G Pro wireless shape. It was a wired mouse, the G Pro, and it was exactly a shape, and I really used to like it. And I used to follow the G305, so I had to buy this. But see, at that point, I'm like, am I gonna look up a review of the G305X super light? I'm just gonna go on the website and buy it. So that's usually what happens. I think I watched for the Lycan because Jim wasn't responding to me for a couple of days, and I really wanted it because I was so interested. Because again, I'm a big fan of low weight, and like just very very low density is amazing to me, and this was an interesting shape. I'm pretty sure I watched. I think bardOZ made 2 videos about it. And I watched both. I watched a couple of videos about the Lycan before I could get my hands on it.
Yeah.
But it's very rare.
Do you use glass pads at all?
So, no. I've tried all of them, but because of a lot of people ask me this question, especially because glass pads went so viral with a lot of aiming people and influencers that are really into it. Because of what I said earlier about my skin and the friction between my skin and the surface, I do not like glass pads at all. I have a very old video where I got that, and I also have a video where I got a decent score at 5 centimeters to 60 on glass pad, but that was just for show, right? To show like mouse control, but I hate it. Maybe it was 7. I think it was 7 centimeters because people bring it up every now and then. Oh, there's also one at 5. Yeah, I have a bunch. I don't know if this was on glass, but yeah, when I was streaming, I used to do whatever weird stuff. Oh, this was on a G640. Weird. Yeah, it looks like the hand isn't moving because 5 centimeters is nothing.
Yeah,
That's great. Yeah.
yeah, that's funny. What about outside of? This is probably a terrible question. What other hobbies do you have, even if they're outside of aiming and mice?
I think it's a good question because, I mean, maybe also because I'm old. Because had you asked me when I was younger, I would have said nothing. But now I think I'm old. I'm not old, but by internet standards, I think I'm ancient and decrepit.
We're all ancient here. It's fine.
Yeah, right. So, what other passions do I have? Anime, as you can probably imagine. I'm learning Japanese. I'm actually taking it very seriously. I spend like 3 hours a day on learning Japanese.
Really?
And I watch a ton of videos on, I don't know if they're niche topics. Like one of my favorite creators is like a finance guy. Actually, we need to look up but not finance as in like those like self-finance stuff. More like global like economy stuff. So it's very niche, like not very common. And then cars is my other. I love cars. The moment I had any amount of money, I spent more than any reasonable person should on a fast car. And then I bought another one, and now recently, of course, I sold the second one because I am still unemployed. So cars which is I think in the US it's more common to be into cars, but here it's very very not common.
What cars do you have now, or have you had?
I have an Audi RS3 hatchback, which is not sold in the US, but I know a lot of people like it. It's a 400 horsepower hyper hatchback. So basically, it goes like 0 to 100 kilometers, which would be 0 to 60 in like 3.7 seconds. But it's like a normal hatchback, so people see it and it's a super sleeper, but then it just goes with a 5-cylinder engine, which is super rare.
Very good taste. Yeah, dude. I love wagons and hatchbacks.
It's a very polar. I don't know. If we start talking about cars on rambles, I'm not gonna say it is. I agree that it's good taste, but you kind of need to understand why it's actually a bad car in many ways, and it makes it so charming. Like it's a car that has wider tires in the front than at the back.
Really?
Which already tells you something went bad in the engineering, but It's just so fun. If you actually know, it's so fun. It has like, there's basically no cars on the market with 5 cylinders, because usually it's an even number of cylinders.
Yeah.
But this one has 5. Historical engine, that like the Rally Quattro engine from Audi, the DAZA, whatever, a bunch of stuff. It sounds awesome. They call it the mini Lamborghini because the V10 Lamborghini sounds very similar to this. I don't know. It's a very weird car. So the people that are really, really into cars will appreciate it. The people that are little into cars will be terrible taste, or like understeer, like larger tires, and like. But no, like so. It's like that meme where you have the distribution and like great car if you know a car guy, and then again great car.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. What else did we have here? Well, sure. I mean, we can kind of wrap it up here. Is there anything else important that we haven't discussed?
Well, we've talked about mice, sensors, pads, cars, importantly, tech, business. I guess more realistically, I'm kind of curious about the latency dilemma. That's like what I'm kind of banging my head. Like, I don't know if you have an opinion, like how much does it matter? When does it matter? And what trade-offs make. So basically, recently I started using G-Sync. Even though people know that openly, I've said that, and I stand with what I said, which is G-Sync adds latency. And we do have proof that lower latency is better, even when it's like sub 1 millisecond from the line of effective videos that they did recently, not the old one. But I was always open to maybe visual clarity from G-Sync could offset some of the latency loss, because now you see stuff more clear. And I don't know. I don't know if I perform better or not. So the latency dilemma for me, because we all, companies keep mentioning latency, gamers keep, everyone talks about this thing. There's people say it doesn't matter because humans have like 170 milliseconds of reaction time, which to me is a terrible take. There's the people that are like the hyper tweakers, which think that even latency that is in the nanoseconds can do something, which is actually equally as dumb in my opinion. But then the reasonable people in the middle, I don't know where the answer is. So I don't know if you guys have an opinion on that.
My only experience is, I think it was Battlefield 6. For some reason, my FPS was just struggling, and I was getting a bunch of stutters, and I like turned on frame gen, for example, which obviously will introduce some latency, but then the game just played so much more smoothly for me, and I could play so much more consistently. But that's like more of a hardware limitation.
But that's a really good example, because frame gen is exactly that. Like you literally artificially, like you know that the information that you're seeing from frame gen is made up, but just because it feels nicer and smoother visually, you end up performing better. So that's why, like, you definitely can't flatten it to just like lower latency equals better, because maybe something adds latency, but we humans are so complex that like, oh, but since it feels smoother, I'm gonna perform better, even though technically it is useless information. It's just so complex. And have you guys noticed? Okay, I'm gonna ask this. My biggest issue, and the reason why I argue with people on Twitter, is that people don't want to think about the nuance, and they all think they have the answer. And if you try to open up the conversation that maybe it's more complicated than that, they call you names, and even though they haven't done any research. And that's super common, even on the mouse review subreddit, it happens quite frequently. So I'm kind of curious about your take on like the hertz or saturating polling rate or DPI, etc., etc. What do you think?
I don't like, and I do this sometimes in reviews, making sweeping comments or comments that are very definitive, because I just assume I'm often wrong, and we're always learning, and it's good to go in with an open mindset, and that just makes every conversation better. That's how I try to approach things, and I've been wrong many, many times in videos, in life, probably in this podcast. So that's like a high-level take on how I approach it. But what you phalanges?
I don't have any good takes. I'm too noob to even. I have to A/B test 1K versus 4K to even notice a difference, and that was also only using a 480 hertz OLED monitor before I really couldn't notice a difference. So I feel like I don't have a strong opinion. I do think you look at a lot of pros, and they're not as autistic about shapes and specs as we are. They just kind of go on vibes, and Yeah, there's probably something there. Again, that same chart of the noobs just buy a mouse based on vibes,
Yeah.
the pros just buy a mouse based on vibes, and then we're all in the middle here trying to min-max.
Yeah,
But to
I
a point
think
made earlier,
basically-
though, we're such complex beings, right, as human beings, and placebo is also
Exactly.
like a hell of a drug. So if maybe you perceive yourself playing better on 2K, and you might actually just do that because you've removed the mental barrier, or you just believe you'll do better.
Yeah, or you had
Golf,
breakfast that morning.
It's still mental, everything. You had
That's
breakfast, you
true.
slept better, you drank
but
water.
it's true. Maybe yeah, it's true. Because I think a lot of people in our space forget that basically what we're doing is like min-maxing all of the like supplements that you can take. But what matters is whether you go to the gym six times a week, whatever, whether you do a good split, whether you sleep well, eat well. Like the pros are doing all of that, and therefore whether they take creatine to do an extra rep or not, it isn't relevant. But a lot of people in our space think that, oh, you're not taking creatine, which could be like, oh, you're on 800 DPI. Don't you know the 1600 DPI is low latency, even though they don't understand the whole concept of like how that latency in the case is measured. Like, are you joking? When obviously it's not going to be relevant, because is it going to matter more whether I'm on 800 DPI and also gaming like 10 hours a day in a good environment and I have talent and I sleep well? So yeah, but what I wanted to ask is, for content creators and reviewers, how do you, like, the thing is, I never want to compromise on my, let's say, maybe epistemics could be the right word. Like, I want to make sure that I don't compromise on what my values are when it comes to searching the truth. But people want, and so I made the video on Kimmy, the reaction about 8,000 hertz, where I was like, I explained why some statements were not true. And people basically are mad that I didn't be like, they want me to say 8,000 hertz is better. Like, they want you to just give them the answer. But if the answer is that there's no one answer, how do you deal with that? I don't know. That's like my biggest struggle as a content creator.
Yeah, it's like a majority of the comments on my YouTube videos are asking like which mouse is best for me. And even like yesterday, someone was like, you tend to never give like definitive recommendations and say it's always a personal choice, but like, what's the best mouse? And I was like, I mean, you could just pick one of the flagship ones and be fine. I don't know what your hand size is. I don't know what your preferences are. I don't know what your skill level is. But I try to just not worry about it. But I guess you get into more technical discussions.
You do. So
it's a very different subject matter, and you probably do have to respond in a different way than I do.
Yeah. But the issue is that usually I explain that the issue is that it gets even worse, because it sounds like you have the answer when you go technical like I do, whereas it's usually like, this is the technical answer.
These are the facts. Yeah.
And, these are the facts, but then they ask me, so which one is better? But better entails, just because 8,000 hertz is on paper purely better, maybe the way we humans work, there's a, I don't know, lower hertz is better because of like deep like visual perception things in our brain, so that the fact that your view rotates less maybe causes less blur. For example, the Blurry Busters guy has a lot of thoughts on those things. Like, it's just, I can't, just because a thing is better on paper, and then they want me to be like, so should I use this? No, but they get even more mad at me, because like, okay, so you wasted my time because you spent 20 minutes showing me all of these charts and making these drawings, and now you don't even, and then you don't even use 8,000 hertz, which I do use 8,000 hertz, but that's kind of an example. And the answer is yes, because it will help you make the decision if you know the facts, but people just want the answer, and I don't know how to deal with that. Yeah.
Well, simple
no matter
fact
how many
is,
disclaimers you give and how many times you say it, like, you'll get those questions, and people will still want those answers. Yeah, I don't know.
9 out of 10 people are not looking for the depth that like we have, but especially you two, bardOZ. People just want a product recommendation at the end of the day. I mean, go into another niche. The other day, or the other week, I started riding my bike to work, so I got into the whole e-bike thing, and I'm just like, what's a good Chinese e-bike? I don't know. Like, I don't need to min-max all these super duper special specs. I just want something to get myself started, and if I get more into it, then I will. But to start, yeah, and a purchase is a purchase, whether you are, you know, an AIM child who has tried 84 different mice, or if you're just picking something up to upgrade your G400S.
Yeah, I agree. But then the niche people get mad. Like, I made one of the
Really?
The worst video I've ever made in terms of like to dislike ratio is my review of the GPX2 when it came out, because I said the best mouse in the world is extremely boring, which is still what I feel like. Because if I had to pick one
How is
mouse
that a bad
I
take?
could, because people are like, it's the GPX2 is terrible. No, it is not. It's
No,
like
it's not.
if I don't know who you are, and I had to maximize my chances of finding something that will be good enough for you, the GPX2 is a great choice and still is. Because, I mean, and usually the obvious take is, don't you see there are a lot of pros using it? And the answer is, pros don't know shit, or like the sponsor. Okay, then why is Mario W also getting all of the world records in the world, mostly with the GPX2? And then usually it's like, it's preference. Okay, then is it preference though? Because all the best people in all of these, also the number 2 and number 3 scores in my task are with the GPX thing. And I have my own theory that the Hero is just a better sensor. But then you have people that just don't want to hear it.
Yeah, to that point, the number one mouse I recommend in like the budget mouse space to people is the ATK A9, I guess Air Plus now, for that shape reason, the price reason. You probably have a version of it there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the exact mouse. Yep. So
I also have the smaller one, which does. I really like the aesthetics of it for some reason.
The A9.
The one that clones the
2C. Yeah, mine's in transit back from bardOZ. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he reviewed it. That's pretty cool. Oh, you want to see it, Joe?
I don't know.
Yeah. What about?
I mean,
bardOZ?
I'm sure it's in this pile. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the ethics of cloning shapes? Like, is this absolutely evil and we should never support it, or is this good at delivering products at lower price points?
That is such a good question. I mean, from a pure ethical standpoint, yeah, of course it's bad. Oh, here it is. It was just right there. Like, I think they did a great job with that.
Oh, and boring black, bro.
Yeah, but because I wanted it to kind of look like the GPX2C, and it looks as premium as Logitech was kind of my...
Yeah.
It really does. And they feel great, so that's a great recommendation, but I do still think that the Hero is a better sensor. But ethically... So it depends on how you do it too, okay? Like at this point, if you do an EC2 clone, I don't know, like the EC2 is a shape that has like defined a class of ergo mice for 15 years. I don't see anything weird with someone doing that. But what happened, for example, with I don't know the details. I never looked into it, so I'm not trying to. And I'm actually just gonna mention a thing. I'm not gonna say anything because I don't want to slander. And I think there was something that happened between the Hitscan Hyperlight and the ATK F1, and completely unrelated to what I just said. I think therefore there are ways in which it can be unethical to do this, or less ethical. So
it's a spectrum. Yeah.
ATK U2 calling literally their clone of it and calling it U2.
Okay, that you can't justify.
I think
that
is
too
egregious.
much.
Yeah,
that is egregious. That is egregious.
And stealing. So the story goes with ATK was Hitscan commissioned whatever ATK factory starts with, I think, an X or a D, and there's an X in it, Dongzhong something. They commissioned them as the contract manufacturer, and that released in September, October, but ATK copied the shape and released the F1 about a month or two prior. Hyperlight or Hitscan came out and said, "Can I give him back to you?" Okay. They came out and said, "I know, right? He loves watching viscose aim training videos, target switching." They said that it wasn't the final version of the Hyperlight that was copied, but they were really disappointed to see that. So, that's really unethical. But at the same time, shapes are so damn iterative, and there's so many preferences with a mouse: skates, switches, scroll wheel tactility, side button feel and location, where you can clone something, but I still think you can make it your reasonable take on that shape.
Agreed. And I think, as a consumer, of course, it's better. It's just better.
Yeah.
I agree that if you're on a budget, these are great. And also, the Hero might be better, but maybe it's only... if you're looking for a budget mouse, then you're probably not the same person that is already at such a high level that the potential marginal improvements of a slightly better sensor could do anything for you, because at that point you're probably already at a level where you have tens of mice and you already bought, like you're willing to spend 180 even for that margin improvement. So you know, the fact that they can and do copy shapes pretty shamelessly. And one of the small defining features of the GPX shape is that, not very often talked about, but this little mini
ridge.
Ridge here on the right side, and the fact they even copied that, it is egregious in itself, because I mean, this isn't like inspired. I'm sure they just had a very high fidelity scan and basically just
I do notice
did a CAD that matches it.
If you can tell too, the thumb groove on the A9 series is a little bit deeper on the left side. I wonder if we can even see that. Wait, can we see this on FindMyMouse?
Yeah, you should be able to, but I don't know. I think what I feel is a difference in coating more so than the in-depth.
Yeah, coating is also a huge factor. That's something that isn't talked about a lot, but in my opinion can really change a mouse. Yeah.
For example, I really like the Co 1 also because it has a very grippy coating. Yeah, I think they, by the way, I don't know if this is the first product, but incredible, very, very good mouse. One of the best mice I've received.
Mid battery life and kind of tiny side buttons, so like the real only two detractors there, I think.
Oh yeah, the side buttons. Like for some reason I never care about the side buttons, even though I do use them in every game. I never really care about the feeling, but yeah, those are kind of a very toy-like in nature. They look like.
Oh shit, maybe I'm wrong, Daz. Like on the scan, bro, I can't.
It's basically the same shape. Consider that like each scanner has a little bit of accuracy, of course. So imagine they must be the same if they're this close from a 3D standpoint.
Yeah.
I think the M shows A7's a bit flatter there, but like we're talking very, very small.
Oh, do you have the A7?
I just have a Super Strike and an A9 in hand.
Yeah, so. I agree. A7 feels flatter to me on the sides. Yeah.
I need to get more M-Chos of their. I need to get more of their offering to put on FindMyMouse for sure. Yeah. They're one of the companies that I am most lacking when it comes to the offering.
Yeah, they're good stuff too. Like M-Chos, I think if you're looking for like a cheap Chinese brand, M-Chos is a fine recommendation universally.
Yeah. I do have a bunch. Some user had me test with my LDAT. I did find that their firmware implementation is not great. So basically, their click latency would increase by 16 milliseconds, which is insane because like I am sub 2 milliseconds end to end on most good mice. If you were using, it had like 3 modes, but they're usually sensor modes, like the competitive versus office versus like performance. And if you had anything apart from the peak one, so even if you had the middle one, like competitive, which is supposed to be for the sensor, you added 16 milliseconds of click latency. So that was a little shocking that such a problem existed, because it's a bug. But yeah.
Do you read any of Pizogel's reviews from Tech Power Up? Because he does a bit of technical testing.
Now and then. I've talked to him privately because he's the only other person that noticed the implication of the 20k FPS, which requires a very deep understanding of the optical flow algorithm, in my opinion, which is that if you use the 20k FPS, you risk lowering the quality of the tracking at slow movement speed, because you're taking so many frames that basically in frame time, the distance in frames between a feature, because you're moving slow, and its next position is so far that it becomes impossible for the algorithm to tell whether it's noise or you actually moved. And he was the only person I ever saw mentioning that, so I did talk to him. So I really appreciate his understanding, but I don't, as I said, I don't really read many reviews. I'm also not a fan of MouseTester as a software.
Oh, why is that? Are we getting too much in the weeds? Are we about to get...
No. So I have... It's a very, very basic software. And I think the things that it should do really well, it doesn't necessarily do really well. I think most people use a fork by a guy that I have had my issues with when arguing on tech stuff. And he has come back since then and he deleted his tweet. So he was wrong, but because he has like the fork of this software that people use, I just don't like appeal to authority, and I think one can do so much better. And I have built my own kind of MouseTester where you can also like see more of a trace, and you can kind of scroll and kind of replay your movement and see every dot at different speeds and do all of those actions better, even faster in terms of like, mine is pure C with EM GUI, like immediate GUI, which is less heavy than what they do with C# and WPF. Basically, very technical reasons for why I think it's a very basic piece of software that a lot of people use for historical reasons and have put on a pedestal for no good reason. But also, I've never taken the time to make mine open source and try and pushing it, so it's not like I'm criticizing anyone using it.
I think as like from a normie's perspective, it's just nice when somebody actually does do testing. It shows they're acknowledging a level of detail that most Vibe reviewers don't get into. But what's your opinion on what about like modular? I'm looking at the Sim Pro 3, I guess here. What's your opinion on
just to interject real quick? I'm 30 minutes over my quota.
Okay, so. Sorry, Daz. Were there any last questions you had for bardOZ?
If there were, I don't have time, so I appreciate that though. Yeah.
Okay, you can text me if you think of anything. Yeah. Otherwise, enjoy your weekend. 4th of July, happy 4th.
Yeah,
go blow something up. He's like, yeah, we can continue if you're.
Yeah, no, I'm interested in what you were going to ask about the Punch, because I have a bunch of opinions on specifically what they did.
So have you used ultra custom stuff or like the Pathfinder, and what's your general thoughts on modular mice?
Pathfinder, I really like. I don't actually remember what you can do in terms of customization for the Punch Ultra Custom Pro, but it's very far from what you can do on the Pathfinder, I would say.
Yes,
I have the Pathfinder, and also I like how they made it very open, where you can...
Yeah, so again, the Ponage was, first of all, flat base, which is really nice for skates, any size, and then it's simply clicks and the hump. You have different hump profiles and different click groove depth.
Yeah.
Oh, sensor position too.
Yeah, but even that, I don't like the mechanical sensor thing, because it just adds weight and an extra mechanical point of failure. I'm also not a huge fan of flat bases, because I think that they must, to some degree, increase the risk of lowering the tracking quality. Like, Pixar is very strict, and in general, it makes sense from an optical standpoint. These lenses are fixed, obviously. It's not like they have like autofocus. And you need to make sure that the relative distance, PCB, lens, assembly, sensor, and mouse pad is very stable, which is why I always tell people to keep their sensor skate. And flat bases kind of increase the risk of someone using a skate that will mess that up and lower the quality of the tracking. But yeah, no, I mean, I like the ability to... as I said, my first gaming mouse was the G9, which was modular because it had two different backs. It had the more ergo, smooth back. It also had weights that you could add and remove. And that one, the smaller side. And I never figured out which one I preferred, but I was always a fan of the modularity, and I really, really like what they did with the orbital Pathfinder. So I'm a fan. I don't like... let's say if you want to go modular, you have to go all the way like Orbital did. I don't like just this level of modularity. Doesn't really excite me that much. Versus Orbital is crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting that we haven't really seen those products. I don't want to say take off. Do you know anyone who actually mains a Pathfinder?
No.
Yeah,
no, and I don't think
I
don't think they will ever be mainstream.
Why is that?
For the same thing I was saying earlier, right? It's
because Logitech kind of did it.
If you have to spend so much time tweaking your tool, it probably isn't a good tool, at least at scale, because you will feel it in the way. Because every time you will have in the back of your mind, like, should I go like one notch longer on this? Because we humans are terrible at self-assessing performance, even though most of us think that we're good. We're actually not good at self-assessing. So I think these products are more for people like us that have a very, very high degree of understanding and can kind of sample this space. But to go mainstream, you need to kind of be the answer, as I said, right? Like most mouse people say, the GPX2 shape is terrible, yet most people love the GPX2 that are in our niche. You know, it's kind of like, I'm sure most of us think there's a ignorance is bliss type thing. To some degree, it might be right, because you don't know what's out there. But also, you can get to very high levels where Matty uses GPX and a bunch of pros use GPX. So I don't think Pathfinder will ever go mainstream. I think for some people like us, it's great. I think we all should buy it, and so that we can sample, experiment. That real passionate people that have like 3D printers can really like learn how to do some basic CAD modeling and sample this space so that we can really try to find the answer for ourselves, because it's always going to be super personal. So this is the only way one can do it, especially when it has a very nice like modern mouse inside of it, so you don't have to compromise as you explore. But no, it's not going to be mainstream. I doubt it.
Yep, I kind of agree too. I don't know, people just want like one pre-packaged thing, and honestly, they'll adjust to that.
Yeah, and as I was saying earlier, ultimately, the marginal gains that you could get by moving the thing in the modular mouse by a notch, compared to just like stop thinking about it and focus on the game, that's why I've done this as a little test. I have this friend that I play, an Italian friend, Bronx, that I play Counter-Strike with, and he's like us, even more. Like, he kind of has, say that he has like one good game where he changed one small thing, and then he goes like down the rabbit hole of like, oh, maybe. So I was like, okay, do this for me. I bought him a GPX2 and a QCK Plus, and I was like, for a week now, you're gonna play with this, and then we measure your face performance versus like your FindMyMouse, Ultralight X, and Ayate Otsu, or whatever you're maining now. He performed better with the GPX2, and even though he hates the GPX2 shape, he went back to other mice after, he went back to Artisan. But the data doesn't lie, and people don't want to hear this, but for most people, just stop changing stuff and use what's good enough, and focus will probably be more beneficial for you in your game. Now, of course, there's some people like us who just want to really keep sampling and maximizing for different solutions and cases and domains, and it's fun in and of itself. And of course, once it clicks, it's a superpower, because now you can do that same thing of like, I'm not going to change anymore. So I haven't changed my main setup for CS in some time. I play 69cm 660, X2H Crazy Light Mini, PD170 as my main, and I've been more consistent than I've ever been in my Counter-Strike history. But it took 100 plus mice, 100 plus mouse pads, building sensitivities to get here. So I understand both sides.
Yeah, it's really just fun trying different things out at this point. That's my take on it.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else do we want to talk about?
I see a question in the chat asking what their upcoming projects like the last DPI explained on Patreon.
Yeah.
So I kind of talked about it earlier, but and this I've said publicly on Twitter. Right now I'm focusing on what I said about incorporating properly with the right people to work with me, making this into a more serious business, of which FindMyMouse is part of, maybe hiring a couple people to work with me, build a little team so that I can express my full vision and we can try building towards it. But I've always said one of the things that I want to do with FindMyMouse is, I mean, by this point people know, and I said it earlier, I really dislike vibe-based strong opinions. So I want to fight that actively. So I want to use as many measurement tools to quantify as many meaningful metrics for mice as I can, and then put them all on FindMyMouse, and then have like a leaderboard for, you know, measured sensor latency or sensor DPI accuracy, but not just like, usually when people measure DPI deviation, they measure like once to see, you know, how many DPI is the mouse actually at when it's at 800, which by itself is very limited because you have things where you push the mouse a little further and because of the optical properties it changes. So I want to measure more deeply, like as I change the speed of, that's why I use my 3D printer to move a mouse at known speeds and along known paths on a mouse pad, so that then I can reproduce a movement with high consistency, so that then I can do statistical analysis on it. So I'm gonna basically build, especially again as I'm done incorporating and finding the right people to work with and the team. Part of the vision is I want you to, when you go to find my mouse and you buy something, I want you to feel like you really found your mouse to the best degree possible without having the mouse in your hand and trying it. So that also involves measuring as many things as I can and putting it out there in the most like usable format. So it's basically, to respond, it's still planned. It's just that right now I kind of got to a point where I want to set the foundation of the company and the team and anyone running, so that I can go then full speed right after.
Cool. That was a good question, a good answer. Are there, let's see, what else do we have here? Any other questions in chat? What about, do you have a mouse brand that you think is like one of your favorites, or just a really easy blanket recommendation for a noob to start with?
So Pulsar recently, like because I told you that I'm a massive fan of low weight. Like, it's not that I am not, for a little bit I was like, does it matter? And my answer now is it matters, and lower is better always, as long as you don't compromise on other things, like having to have a very small unstable mouse for it. So Pulsar has just, basically G-Wolves and Pulsar are the two that I am most excited about recently. And of course the Co-1, but it's too early to say the CR Draco is a brand that I like, because there's one relevant product so far that I've tried, but very good. But G-Wolves going crazy on like experimentation. The Lycan I really like as a product. I wish it had a lower sense of position. But Pulsar, like, all of their offering is also the speed at which they are pushing out new products, and every product is good. Like, I have the recent I have the Star or SDAX, the Susanto. I have all of the like Pro series, and they're all good. And of course my main mouse is the X2 HCL Mini, and I love the flexibility. Like, I love the X2 that you can get the Mini and the medium. And I really think that if they scale, I don't know why no one talks about the For You thing. Like, the fact that for the price of a GPX2 I can buy this, it's kind of crazy. Like, because I decide the color, the branding, and the switch type, and the scroll wheel type. That's crazy. Like, is there any other company that does this? I think they're the only company that's offering a service like this to this degree, where you have a very nice UI UX and so many customization things, and then you just do it, pay, Shopify typical experience, and then after like a month you get your mouse first, like, fully customized.
No, it is very unique. I don't know, has it been successful? I would, from my perspective, probably not. So are they going to continue doing it? I don't know. I think it's a great feature, but much like the Orbital Pathfinder, if you're going on that site and configuring, you're already very well aware of what you like. And so maybe then that begs the question, do you want to spend $180, or do you just want to solder in those switches yourself?
Yeah, that's a really good point. But I think it shows how much... I think they're the only non-Razer and Logitech company that isn't kind of like ATK. So I don't know how to explain it. Like, ATK also goes really fast, and they push up a bunch of products, but they're not really trying as much and pushing as much to try new things and innovate as much as Pulsar must have an insane budget, okay? Because the pros that they're working with, like Zaiwu, but also, like, I'm thankful because the Zaiwu they chosen is as an outside AX. Earlier you asked me what shape would you want to see, and I said the MX518 in a modern way. Had the Zaiwu not existed, my first answer would have been an outside AX that's super light, maybe a little smaller, but Pulsar already solved that dream for me. So the fact that they are doing this is pretty great.
Yeah, they also seem very community focused. Again, whether it's the Buy You thing or just all the colorways that they have, the collaborations with pros, they are just they seem very community focused, which is refreshing compared to Logitech and Razer, who is like, here is our flagship product. You will love it or you will hate it.
Yeah.
So on that note,
they seem more approachable.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then like Yeah,
Frosty.
we've had Frosty on the pod, and he's incredibly transparent, and yeah, they're active on socials. Now, what about Razer? You've talked a bit about Logitech and the GPX. Razer's their biggest competition. How do you see that rivalry? Is one better than the other? Does one do certain things better than
I think
the other?
Logitech is better because Logitech is the only company on the planet that manufactures a fully vertical solution for gaming mice, which people really take for granted. I always explain, especially to business people that I've been talking to recently that aren't necessarily as into the details of our world, that Logitech is basically like Apple in the sense that they build a product of which they own the same way Apple did Apple Silicon, so that now every single product that Apple, or before then they did their mobile chips, everything they put out, they are sure is completely perfectly within specs, etc. And they also don't have to wait on a second company for, like, imagine how, like, think about it. I don't know if there's many other markets in the world where basically the heart of your product, you have to completely trust another company to get right, and you don't have that much option. Like, you don't have basically any options, because Pixar, like, if you want to make a mouse, you have to go Pixar if you're not Logitech. Logitech is the only other company that makes their own sensors. So say that maybe you find a bug that is actually in the DSP, like I think the DPI downshift thing was with the 3950 on Pixar. Now every company has to find a stopgap, so like a subpar solution. But Logitech has in-house, it's their sensor. They have they designed it, they designed the electronics, the DSP, the firmware for DSP. It's all vertically integrated. So I think that if you ask me just Razer versus Logitech, I think there is a massive advantage that Logitech has. But I do think that Razer has had such a deep connection with Pixar, and they've done, as far as I know, custom firmware for Pixar, and they've worked so closely with Pixar for so long that they're probably as good as you can get a Pixar sensor to perform. And I really like the Viper V Pro. Yeah, I have it here. I'm sure it's here somewhere in my there it is. They all look the same. It's hard for my pile of mice to recognize it, but density wise it's really good. Like, it's lightweight. It's it ends up being a shape thing, and I think the Viper shape is, and the Thunder, which are the two main shapes if you want to go like fully competitive, are too polarizing compared to the GPX2. So I personally would definitely pick a GPX2 over the Viper, even though it's a great product, because I like the shape more. I think that the Viper is just too unnecessarily long. I don't dislike long mice per se. It's just that it needs to serve a purpose, which I don't see but I know a lot of people love it, so that's completely personal preference.
Yeah, I know I'm a big fan of the shape. I like the tapered waist a bit more, the little bit deeper comfort grooves I like. Yeah, I've always, it's a shape that I've always performed well with. I like all the clones pretty much. I'm okay with no more clones though, but there are quite a few options. But could you are you able to talk more about what working with Asus was like for the development of the ROG Harpy Ace?
Yeah, I need to be careful there, of course, because of so it was really fun, first of all, and they're a massive company, right? It's very different, because I've talked to CEOs and high level people from smaller mice companies that we all use and know. Asus is on a different level of structure and organization, right? And they have like the funds to really go big and try things. And what shocked me is how open they were to like feedback. Like, for example, the shapes. I try to have as I said, I've always liked a hump that's a little further back and a little taller, and the hard pace is definitely, at least the Aimlabs one, we went through a lot of iterations with that, and they would like,
Mine's
is it
died.
the 2?
This is the 1, but I dyed it using a fabric dye because the shell is nylon. so it takes fabric dye, but then the buttons are PBT, so those don't take the dye.
Cool. Yeah. So that was really cool. Also, they were very open to like, what features do we think? Like they really wanted to make a really competitive mouse that a pro could use. So it was really cool to be able to weigh in with my experience and be like, look, this thing is, since it probably adds weight, isn't really that important for this iteration, etc., etc. And of course, the coolest thing was what I still believe is the future of mice, which I think we didn't do to the degree that I want to do at Aimlabs, for the same reasons that I mentioned earlier, of like sometimes you just have to prioritize. But the Harpace Aimlabs, or at the time we were still called Aimlab edition, allowed you to play Aimlabs with it. And we had a deep integration with the HID of the HID protocol to talk to the mouse, so that Aimlabs could read and write to your DPI, so that it could search the right DPI for you by having you play, and then just seeing like, okay, I changed the DPI, and I of course align the sensitivity so that you don't even know what's going on, which was always the concept of like the premium features of Aimlabs. And you keep doing it, and Aimlabs measures your performance, and if there is a significant peak, it will tell you perform better at that DPI. So that was fun, because that was what I came up with, basically. That was my proposal, because it was like, okay, we want to do a mouse together. What do we do? What is the Aimlab side of the Aimlab edition Harpace? And I still think that is the future. Like it's very sad that mice do not have a standardized HID protocol or firmware. You know, I think keyboards are moving in that direction with like QMK, I think it's called, and stuff like that. Mice don't have that, which means that all the cool things and the deeper integrations that one could do, like a game that's able to read your DPI, etc., and maybe keep track of your settings, it doesn't exist. So I wanted to show how cool that could be when a software partner like us works with a hardware manufacturer, and they give you access to these like firmware things, which otherwise you will need to reverse engineer, and of course be in legally breaching their IP if they don't allow it. So I still think that's super cool. I think that will be the future, and I think more and more companies are realizing that. And yeah, I mean, as you can imagine, that's a big part of my strategy for the company I wanna build. I think we need deeper integration of software and hardware if we wanna reach the next level of human performance, where you don't have to just guess whether a setting or a feature is better or worse for your performance. And then, of course, as I said earlier, like the fact that you can go to Best Buy and there's this thing that has my signature on it will still be peak. Also, I held a press conference in Japan about the launch of the mouse to Japanese journalists, which is still, again, peak. Like, wow, why am I here? This is crazy. Why am I talking to Japanese? Why am I doing a press conference with Asus representatives talking to Japanese journalists in Japan about a mouse that has my signature on it? To peak experience of my life, for sure.
Very humbling. I asked bardOZ a similar question about what's it like going into a micro center and seeing products with your name and your seal of approval on the shelves.
Yeah, that must feel so cool. I can't believe that. I mean, he was one of the first times I think Artisan ever did anything with anyone else, because Artisan for the longest time was unreachable, like not very approachable, I would say. And then to see that he was able to do the zero. When I saw that, I was like, damn, bardOZ has made it. This is peak in this space.
Think that was necessary for them too, because it's a bit like customization is very important. As you get into products and are all converging towards the same thing, I think mice these days, you can pretty much pick up anything high-end, and it was very good. It is usable in a competitive setting, but so then it's like, well, what do you choose? Well, hey, pick the one that has the cool logo or is the fun colorway.
Exactly.
And Artisan seemed resistant to this, especially with mouse pads. I think it's even more important than mice.
Yeah, because mouse pad, to be fair, I mean, first of all, it's very Japanese of them. But also, to be fair, the printed versions of the Zero do feel different. Like painting it, like I have the the one with the anime girl, which I can't remember the
2000
the
Fun.
name. It's with a it has a
Right?
Y, the actual name. It is a 2000 Fun, but it has like the Argent Zero Y something 2000 Fun edition, if I recall correctly. And it is stickier to my skin than a normal Zero. Like it isn't as rough because of what they do to print. Yako. Yeah, so I understand. Maybe they just didn't want to compromise on the like raw feeling of the surface.
Yeah,
so,
I get that.
So I get it, but I do agree. Like customization is so fun. It's just fun. Like if you have to pick between something. Like I remember when I used to make the QCK Heavy and the QCK or the QCK Plus. So we're talking 2014, 2013. The QCK CS:GO edition came out, which I still have, and I bought it as I'm maining it, even though I already had it, because it's just cool. Like you want to represent. Like it's just humans are tribal, and it's cool to be able to use something that's like customized to your taste, and you just feel like it's more yourself. So
I got a question.
Which is why
here.
I like the Pulsar by you. Yeah.
So I guess if you could collab with a mouse brand, or let's start with mouse, then we'll do pad. Collab. Who are you collabing with? What kind of a shape? No, let's give some framework. Pulsar does a Pro Series, but with bardOZ. What are we looking at for shape? What are we looking at for colors?
So I've always liked red. My logo is red on the Discord. So I mean, it would probably be similar color scheme to the custom one that I made for the Bayou. In terms of shape, it would definitely. I would try something like I would ask them to build something like an X2H Mini with deeper grooves, because I really like deeper grooves on the side. Like I really want to feel like I'm gripping it, even as deep. I would be okay with the grooves getting deep enough that the tightest point is even as narrow as an OP1 8K, but with grooves. I don't like when it's narrow and there's no grooves, because then it feels like my fingers aren't really locked in place.
Yeah, same. Dude.
And I would go maybe even even chubbier on the hump.
Yeah.
But I would definitely stay close to the X2H just because of how well I perform with it and how locked in place the shape feels.
Have you used the Pulsar 10s? I mean, this is red.
I really like it. Yeah, I have it. Sorry,
yeah, I wish it was narrower too. I wish it had more taper, but it's a really nice shape, and the colors.
I really love the shape. Yeah, I really love the shape. Oh, am I really not gonna find it? I know I have it on the desk among my billion mice. I really like the shape. It's just too large. I wish there was a mini version of it.
Well, that is coming out this year.
A mini 10s would be great. Really? They're doing a mini version of the 10s?
So, in the 2026 Pulsar video, they showed... First of all, these were pictures I took from their 2026 calendar schedule, whatever. Yeah, 10s mini.
Okay, now that I might be interested in.
We don't have a date or anything.
I can't believe that I can find the... Oh, I had it literally in front of me. I moved it out of the way. It was here, literally. Yeah, it's... I kind of... I wish they would make 10's Crazy Light Mini, basically. Because also, as I said, low weight, always great for me.
Yeah. My full-size 10s here has a 150 milliamp hour battery swap, and I believe this comes in at 45, 46 grams, which for how big it is, very low density.
Yeah, one of the first things when I unbox the 10s is it's even the base version of this does feel very low density. Like it is a lightweight mouse for sure.
Yeah. What about...
Of course, it's not as light as the...
So pad collab. What surface? Who are you working with? What design?
So I'm just in love with the PDs. Even before the P170, I was already singing no one was paying attention to it, but I was already singing the praises of the PD140. So everyone that liked the Type 99 mid, I was saying, look, I think Artisan's real edge is on their soft porn, but when it comes to mid, the PD base with the stitchless edges and just the stability and also how sticky it is, because the mid base for Artisans is 0% sticky and you need to put water underneath for it to stick. I was always like, PD140 is basically a better Type 99 mid, but Type 99 soft is a different beast, and I love Type 99 soft as its own thing. So I would probably partner with I mean, PD170 is Pulsar X Vaxi, but PD is a Vaxi product. But also, it seems like only Pulsar is selling it. So I have no idea what kind of deal they struck, because it's a very Vaxi product. But when I talk to Vaxi, it almost feels like they perceive it as a Pulsar thing, and you can buy it on Pulsar website. I don't know. But I think the issue is that in reality, I would love to do it if I was sure that any print wouldn't ruin the surface. Because as I said, the Yako edition of the Zero makes it less usable because it ends up being stickier, which is my #1 issue with mouse pads and what this solves. So assuming they find a magical way for this to be exactly the same, I would love a custom PD170, and I would probably find some good artist. I think I would, just to break so that's obviously very possible, but I think I would love a Ghibli style not anime style, but not a girl, just a natural like landscape type thing,
Oh,
yeah, something like
cool.
that. Like I would love something like that, like a relaxing like vibe, Ghibli style with no character in it, maybe. Of course, I wouldn't need to make sure that it's not AI made, because as I think most people in the world. So I am very into AI. It's always been one of my passions. I was doing a PhD in generative AI before GPT came out. So I'm not against AI. I think though, the way people use LLMs to do social posts and image generation models to generate images where you normally use an artist, I think that is disgusting. I do use generative AI a lot, like agentic coding, etc., but I've never used it for even proofreading one of my posts or a message, because I want to talk to a human and I want to see art done by a human. But it's different if I'm using an agentic coder, because that is a tool, the same way we had autocomplete in IDEs. So I would try to find a really good artist, even if it cost me a lot. And yeah, something like that. I think that would be so sick.
That's nice. Yeah. I know I would love to do, let's see, Cherry Extrafy GP5 AM. I like kind of abstract stuff. I think this is a beautiful pad.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah.
It's not a great pad. Like for the price, it's a terrible value. It's a pretty basic surface, but yeah, printed pads, they have that kind of smooth out feeling, a little bit more stickier on the skin, a little bit higher static frictions, a little bit more skate dependent too. I like more texture feedback too. I don't like super abrasive stuff, but texture feedback I do think is a nice feature. Oh, they even have keycaps? That's cool.
That is very, very cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, something like that. Or maybe Anime Girl. I don't know, 50-50.
Yeah. 50-50. The Anime Girl probably would sell well.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's it that I have for questions for now. We are a little over 2 hours, but I'm having a good time.
Whoa.
Do you have any questions for me, or that I could answer on Daz's behalf?
No, I think the questions about like reviewing philosophy, etc., I asked earlier, so I'm out of questions.
I do want to ask one last one then, which is I hinted at earlier. Do reviewers have to be cracked? Before you came on, I'll tell this to the audience. I was a little bit nervous about having bardOZ on. I'm like, what the hell am I? I just sit here and disassemble shit and solder things. I don't actually aim well. Am I irrelevant? But different people have given different takes on this. What is yours?
So that's a good question. I think ultimately the reason why a bunch of big tech reviewers, not necessarily gaming, went popular is because they represent the average consumer. So I think for example, people want something from me that's almost impossible for me because of the amount of hours and experience and level that I've reached in aiming. So I think if anything, you shouldn't be. So say that you're trying to plot skill. I think if you're too far to the right, too far gone, it becomes really hard because first of all, you reach a level of adaptability that it almost makes it hard for you to tell differences apart that maybe someone less adaptable could notice. So people have massive pet peeves with mice, etc., that I don't even feel. People like swear by like skates being super well, etc., and I can still reach my level of performance on basically any skate, whereas people are like, how can you do that? How can you like the GPX stock skates? I think that's because I have spent so much, especially on low sense, where I can just push with my arm, and there's so much energy that skates aren't going to be that big of a difference versus the all kinetic chain, where it's almost a negative because people maybe want that more intuitive nuance like feeling that I've almost lost. But also, if you're like a completely casual gamer, like I've seen some completely casual, like they never play really any actual competitive shooter, they mostly play like maybe a Call of Duty run here and there, which they've mostly played on console all their life, and they're trying to review a mouse, specifically like the upper echelon, like GPX. You know, if you're reviewing the G502, I think it's fine if you're not like, if you're a very casual gamer. But if you're trying to review like a Viper or a GPX or maybe something from Pulsar, and you're not even someone that actually games or has tried at least like getting a rank in a game once, then it gets a little like now because again, it's about how well do you represent. A review needs to tell you what you need to hear as the consumer. So you need to put yourself in the shoes of the consumer, and both extremes are bad, basically. Of course, both extremes can try to force their view and be good reviewers to be more aligned, because you can still try to think of what an average consumer would want. So no, you don't need to be a cracked gamer nor a cracked gamer. Like, even if you're completely median or even below median rank in a game, I think it's fine. But you need to be at least familiar with the world. Like, for example, at least conceptually, like if you review a mouse, but you maybe have never even like changed DPI on your mouse, which is sometimes it's clear when you have more mainstream reviewers that review more niche stuff, then it's a little like, it's not that they're bad at games, it's that they don't know what they're talking about. Like, how are you going to review something where you have zero understanding of the nuances? But also, you don't need to get to a point like me where you have written a firmware, etc. That's completely unnecessary and often adds problems, because as I said, I say so much without giving the answer, whereas sometimes it would be better if I just didn't say all the specifics and just gave a diluted version. So pros and cons, I think basically, no, it's not a need, and sometimes it can even be detrimental.
Yeah, I think at its core, influencers, like it's our job to be detailed and to deliver a message. Sometimes that message, it is just quick thoughts in a 30-second short. And if that reaches a lot of people about a really good product and you're spreading the word on that, and it's like a good value prop and all that, that content, it's going to be superficial, but I think it's still valid. On the inverse, you know, there's going to be, let's pick on Pizogel with very detailed written reviews that appeals to a very small niche of people. It's really good
for sure. Yes.
Yeah, it's very good info, but how many people are actually watching that compared to a YouTube short? So at the end of the day, I think all that matters is knowing your audience and then being honest. So Pizogel knows his audience. He knows he's not going to get 1 million clicks on an article. Well, I shouldn't say that. Maybe he does.
No, I'm sure maybe he has. I will say though, from a less ethical standpoint, being cracked makes it much easier to be listened to. It's just the truth. Appeal to authority, right? Because if I say something, or Maddie says something, or Visco says something, even if we're completely wrong, it will be accepted at face value way more than if someone with no aiming credentials did. For example, I think that we, the community, I'm not gonna name names because I think there was no malice involved, gave people a completely wrong view of the Key 83. I think the Key 83 was said to have pros, which are actually the opposite. I think that they are so I think the Key 83 is one of the most opinionated directional mouse pads on the world, as in, because of the weave, when you're moving along the rails basically that end up existing, you have way less friction than if you're trying to move along a curve, because almost every time that you move from one main direction to another, you can feel it trying to pull you back to the closest direction, which is the opposite of being like glass, where glass is completely, not directionally biased. So sometimes, or the high sensor position, I think, was something that came from us aimers. So it's a double-edged sword, like with everything, right? It makes it easier to get numbers. Like I never would have been paid attention to or made Twitch partner had I not been a good aimer. But that doesn't mean that my takes are good.
Aimlabs, your position with Aimlabs too, right? People saw you as an authority because you were essentially a power user.
Yeah, because I knew that, but that one was actually true, as in even I've realized that, I think most people have realized it by now, in gaming specifically, especially in 2021 or so, after COVID, a lot of people got into gaming, tech-wise, they weren't gamers, and that I do think for a large percentage of the tech employees in that space is problematic. Because in general, you always have some, because at least, even, so basically when I was at Aimlabs and they knew that I was a gamer to the degree and I spent so many hours, then at least it shows passion for that specific field. At least I was working in a field that I actually care about. But then if you're a software dev and you go do game development just because it's like hyped at the moment, and maybe you have never played, like you're working at, maybe you work at like on a tactical shooter, but the peak experience that you have with shooters is playing Call of Duty 4 on PlayStation 10 years ago, and then you have never played because like you're a typical tech employee with just a MacBook, and maybe you play Slay the Spire on your MacBook every other week. That's a problem. It's a different problem compared to the reviewing thing, though. I think that's you shouldn't do a job just because it's expedient, I think. But this is a very philosophical take and very ideological, because reality is reality sometimes, right? You need to pay your bills, so you're going to do what pays your bills. But I think one should try to avoid working, especially in niche fields that are very hardcore, like gaming, especially competitive gaming, if you don't have an earnest passion for it.
Yeah. Going back to the thing about being cracked, I got a couple questions here for you. But Viscose in a live stream was A/B testing 1,000, like a bunch of polling rates. I think it was like 1, 2, 4, 8K, and blind testing which mouse that was plugged in was set to which hertz, and she could identify it like 10 out of 10 times every single one, except for I think like one of the 10 times goofed up like 2K versus 4K, and that was, but like literally 95% accuracy in blind testing. That's something that, I'm not gonna lie, I do not have the ability to really tell that much. Oh, this poor guy.
I don't know. I think you are misjudging your own skill. I think with the right setup and the right situation, you would also be able to do it.
Really? So
I think with my monitor on a white cursor on a black screen, anyone, my mom, which I've used before for a thing. I don't know if you. I don't know if you've seen a tweet went viral.
Yep.
Because I had my mom do human. Because it bothered me when people said like, but like neuroscience says that like humans on average take 200 milliseconds to respond. No, it is not neuroscience. It is, you're not understanding what Human Benchmark is putting on their website. And I wanted to show that a ton of it was just extra latency due to the setup. And with my setup, my mom averaged, I don't know, 170, and she got a 140 millisecond. And I think people don't understand how much. It's not that they can tell. It's really that their setup currently doesn't allow them to. Yes, maybe search Mama, M-A-M-M-A. Oh, come on.
Oh, yes, you got it. Yeah.
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 Oh, she got 177 average with 157, but then you have people that are like,
that's insane,
15
dude.
years old, and they think like, oh, I get 220, I'm like washed. You're not washed. It's your setup. And I think with the hertz is similar, because I could play Kovacs at 8K hertz with no drops in FPS, even before the recent update that changed to raw input buffer. And that means I had no negatives, so I could do it. But of course, if you try it on a normal computer that will maybe has Discord open and a browser with all the raw inputs, then it's gonna be terrible. But it isn't 8K hertz that's bad. Like one has to discern. So I think you're not giving yourself enough credit. I wish I had the money. Just like I'll fly you here and I'll have you play in this, and I'm sure you will also get it 10 out of 10. Because for example, I can tell when my mouse is set to 1,000 versus higher always, and I can tell. I haven't done it myself, but 1,000 versus 8,000, I can do probably a billion runs and always tell it apart on my 540 Hz OLED. But maybe only 4K versus 8K I would sometimes fail, but because it's all about the setup. So I don't think it's I think people don't give themselves enough credit.
Have you ever done consulting for like pros for setups or peripherals?
I don't like so in general, as I said, I always want to be an entrepreneur, and one of the things I always wanted to make sure of was not tying my time with my earnings directly in anything that wasn't so when I was an employee, of course you do it, an employee by design works like that, but it was a startup and I had stock options, obviously, especially I was a CTO at the end, so it was different. But I want to make sure I have leverage. Therefore, I've consulted, as in I've given suggestions to pros, etc., always for free, randomly when they message me, which I do all the time on my Discord to everyone. But I've never really, the only time I've ever done coaching where I was tying my time with money directly was to launch an Aimlabs platform, and I wanted to be like a coach because it was a coaching platform. I didn't remember, Player Base was the name, I think. And I just wanted to, I was there mostly to show, like, I was doing it as in I was coaching because I was at Aimlabs and we were building the platform, and I wanted to kind of be part of it and help out.
Yeah.
But I never really did any coaching, and I also ended up refunding everyone at the end because I just didn't like it.
Oh, really?
So I've only ever done it for free. Same reason why people really thought when I was disproving tweaks and stuff that I was trying to, and I called a lot of people grifters because there's a lot of grifters in the tweaking space.
Yeah.
Where they sell placebo and just fake things, and they do the usual like playbook of fear mongering, etc. And I had to specify many times, I don't sell tweaks. I never have. I never will. It's not something I'm interested in. I do not care for you to pay me. And also, it's just disgusting. I find it disgusting the way that the top players in the space use the same like playbooks as, I don't know, Andrew Tate style thing, where like you make these claims and you're like, they also like are mysterious, like, oh, same thing as I said earlier, where they convince you, it's like a personal trainer convincing you that if you're not getting better or results while lifting, it's because you're not taking the brand new supplement, which by the way their cousin runs the company that makes it. That it's, to me, it's the same, right? It's not something that I like. So I never wanted to even get close to it. Therefore, and also same reason why earlier, even though I could make it scale way more, I'm not interested in a consulting company when it comes to hardware. It's kind of not very exciting to me. It's very like, where do you go from there? Like, I like product companies. I like building stuff. I don't like making money just as a transaction
off of somebody else.
So that's why I would rather make all of my stuff public and make my videos when I talk about a topic, rather than like having people come for a consult. Everything I know I try to just put out there.
What if somebody approached you being like, I really like whatever you can offer, I want to fly you out and pay you to coach me to get better at something?
Only if we can make it a content thing. If someone was like that, I would only consider if it was an org and they wanted to work with me as a company. Like I'm like, okay, so we're gonna do like this. This is gonna be a B2B thing, and we're gonna make this almost an experiment. Like, we're gonna do science here. So we're gonna use all of you. The goal is always, we're gonna go towards improvement, but it's not gonna be I come there, I claim things, and then I talk to it. No,
gotcha.
I'm gonna create a strategy where we measure everything. I'm gonna build the electronics, the software needed, so that we can measure everything for your team. And every single pro player that was gonna participate in this, we're gonna have them do a very strict regimen, whether we're gonna measure everything about it, we're gonna try to limit any confounding variable, and then we're gonna basically write a paper about this. And then, of course, maybe it's a B2B. Maybe we can decide that, I don't know, you also can do a patent if we come up with something cool, so that we don't just put it out there for free, so you just wasted your money. But it would need to be something, and it's all about scale. I don't like the idea of like, you pay me, you find me out, I go there, 2 hours, you pay me like $10,000 for X hours. That is not interesting to me. There's not, because after it's done, what's left? That I have 10,000 more bucks.
You want something
I'm not
bigger.
interested in that at all. Yeah, there needs to be some. I don't want to say legacy because that sounds too much, but
no, I think there needs to be a product that comes out of it.
Yeah,
a product that's not
and
just
a product can be knowledge. You know, a product doesn't
Yeah.
need to be physical, but something
bigger than just
tangible at scale. It's a scale issue.
Mhm.
I don't like the I don't want it to just be a transaction, because then it's not interesting.
I think that's a philosophy that probably lends itself well to your entrepreneurial spirit, right? Instead of just chasing the singular transaction, that I think a more simple view of both money and growth is you're not even motivated by transactions, you're demotivated by them and motivated by a bigger picture.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. For sure. So that's why specifically the tweaking community was so annoying to me, because that's like the opposite. It's like you are doing stuff that is inherently filthy, because what I really hated is I've seen so many people, especially in our world, specifically peripherals, that could have been great, but they get into this nocebo loop where every time they have a normal like ebb and fluctuation in their performance, they think it's due to some setting, or the skates are not good, or the DPI are wrong, or like I need to change my booting profile, or I need to change resolution, or I need to change sensitivity, and they end up never really being who they could have been, because they get so stuck in this loop. And I think the playbook of these people is specifically to try to enforce that fear that like the reason you're missing your shot is because you didn't use my secret optimization thing for like $50. So they're putting $50 ahead of like possibly ruining a person's career. And like, to me, that's evil. Like I've said, it's an epistemics, because it also like you're specifically lowering the value of truth. So from an epistemological standpoint, you're basically making it so that you're spreading misinformation, which is evil in and of itself. Plus, you're personally hurting kids that share the same passion that I've dedicated basically all of my professional life and personal life to. So that's why people are like, why do you get so mad? Because people that read this and don't know might end up having a terrible time and wasting money, rather than enjoying the beauty of competitive gaming. So philosophically, just opposite ends to me.
That's a good take. We said we were going to end it like a half hour ago.
Sorry, I ramble a lot.
No, this is good. This is a really good discussion. It's nothing's worse than having a guest on a friggin' podcast who doesn't want to talk. So, but I mean, you being a content creator, it was pretty, like I said, it's makes you a known quantity as a guest. But I do want to jump into some news here. We don't have much, probably only, I don't know, 15 minutes worth. Do you want to stick around?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know. 2.5 hours in, so yeah, let's jump over to some news. So I guess to wrap up, no, we'll do the wrap up at the end. Never mind. Let's jump into news. So the first bit of news, and kind of the only thing, sorry guys, it was a pretty slow week. Pulsar Pro Series Carpe-X teaser. All we have is this video with some, we see an orange scroll wheel, some fish scales, a flowy thing, a fish, a koi fish, a carp.
Is this a pro? Do you know the pro? Like,
oh no, I'm a bad person.
Okay, so it's not just me. So I think a lot of them are Valorant pros that I'm also not familiar with. So I don't know.
Valorant. Yeah. Okay. Lee Carpe J Hyuk, 1998. So he's 28 years old.
Overwatch. Cool.
Over with T1, playing for T1. That's right, because Pulsar has a relationship with them, right? Philadelphia Fusion.
So Valorant now, formerly Overwatch.
Yeah. Okay.
Very cool.
I don't know. the shape looks very safe. I mean, some of the curvature here I think is more just aesthetic rather than something we're going to totally feel. But I am down with themes on mice. Sure, fish.
That's I think a first.
Fish mouse?
I don't think I've ever seen anything with fish related mice, so that's definitely a first.
I mean, like Darmo, we have Attack Shark and Darmo Shark, and they do like Attack Shark has the Attack Shark dongle. They do the shark fin for their. Oh, it's not going to show up. Whatever.
I don't
their
have a
new
single Attack Shark. That's a brand that I need to get. Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, they're a weird. They have some super budget stuff that is absolutely not worth your time. And then they have some more premium stuff that's actually pretty solid. I am a bit advocate for the Attack Shark R6. A lot of these are Nordic 52, 840, and like implementation seems fine from my perspective. But this guy right here is like a $45 smaller Sora shape. It's a Sora Mini. Omron Opticals,
$45? 38 grams? That's pretty sick.
Yeah. They lie on their weight. You add skates and it's like 41, 42 grams. But it's a Sora Mini, which we don't really have.
And yeah, I need to get it.
And then they have a couple magnesium things that are decent. I know the whole IPI Attack Shark, they're like the same factory. So you have the Attack Shark R5, which is the IPI float you might have heard of.
No, I had never heard of
okay.
the IPI either. But that is the same exact mouse.
Yes. And then, well, clearly they changed. We have Sharky fins here in gold and then triangles here. And then they also have been doing this stupid texturing. Have you experienced these like fake carbon fiber textures yet?
I have it on the... Wait, I don't know. No, I think, I mean, I have a couple actual, I mean, I have the M1, M2K, which are actual carbon fiber, and then I have the Harp-Ace Extreme. I don't think it's just a weird pattern thing, because
no, that's
they
real.
had some serious carbon fiber, alloy type thing. So no, why? Is it just printed on the plastic, basically?
Yeah, so it's just injection molded. It's not laid up. It's not real carbon fiber. It's a blend of like a little bit of carbon with ABS. And the problem is
it's like the metal filaments for 3D printers almost, where it's basically no metal.
But this is blended. It's like just a singular polymer. But it feels kind of soft, kind of like how the nylon for Asus products are. It's like a softer feeling plastic. But the problem is a really big trend now, and you'll see it on like the ATK Ghost, which is a Viper V3 Mini. This texturing on it, it's like micro dots, like stippling. So it feels like if you scratch it with your fingernail, it feels... Do I have one? It feels swishy. Yeah, I have... I don't know if you can hear this here.
Oh, yeah, I can hear it.
So it's not coated, and it just feels like crap. And it's a really popular trend that I want to go away.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Man, I'd be curious to 3D scan one of those, because that might really be annoying for the scanner.
Oh, yeah, because they are like semi-reflective. I don't know if that matters.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, it does matter. Reflective is the little worst for scanners. If it's reflective and transparent, like the absolute worst so far has been the little thing here in the middle of the G305X, because this is transparent and reflective. It's it came out really bad. Some fully transparent, as long as they're like a little like opaque like this, they do scan, because it's in reflective, right? It's transparent but not reflective. The issue is if it's both reflective and transparent, it's over. Do
you have problems with glossy mice?
No, not really, because the turntable and everything I have, the way I scan them and the custom thing that that would probably be very noisy. I would need to take a long time cleaning it. But it would probably be able to scan it. For something that glossy, I would probably do first. I mean, I don't want to give away my color scanning strategy, because it's very custom and it makes it very unique. But I might need to use some scanning spray for that at some point in the pipeline, because that was very glossy. But I have scanned fairly glossy mice with no problem. with my pipeline.
Okay. 3D scanning spray. Didn't know this was a thing. Okay. Makes
Yeah,
sense.
it's basically you spray it. It makes everything you sprayed on becomes like opaque and white, and then it just I guess technically it doesn't evaporate, but it goes straight from solid to air, which sublimates, I think, in English. And then technically it doesn't leave any residue. It's very expensive though.
Huh.
But I do have a bunch.
That's interesting. All right, next topic, which is Zaunkoenig now has continuous production of the M3K. This is Brock Lidicote from the FindMyMouse. Not a real employee, just a contractor, by the way. That was a joke on his. He was very much covering his ass. IPS Blue, have you talked with this gentleman?
Well, yeah, 5 years ago, because they shipped me both the M1K and M2K.
Okay. So what do you think
So
of
I'm
this?
familiar with them.
They've done batch manufacturing, right? Because they're all like
Always.
handmade. And now they're doing continuous production. What does this mean? Do they buy factory capacity? Do they really have that much demand for these?
So I am very curious too, because it does seem like they are getting more active, and I cannot understand from a business standpoint how they're doing it. Maybe they raised. I haven't looked into that. Maybe they raised some capital.
Yeah, because these are not cheap.
400
USD, 340 euro. No side buttons. So their market
And
is really
wired.
small. And wired, yeah.
Super small.
Yeah. So, I mean, what's
cool is they really do believe that, like, they have one belief, which is fingertip is the superior aiming style, and it seems like they're doing everything they can to try to prove it. But I do agree that from a business standpoint, I have no idea how they are able to have continuous supply of the M3K or anything else they're going to be doing in the near future. But it's super cool.
It is cool. Yeah, I'm guessing either there's way more demand than what we think, which I kind of doubt, or I wonder if continuous production, they bought capacity at like a cheaper labor rate, and now they're able to offer a lower price, or they're just doing that because they had to buy continuous production, and now they're spending their time elsewhere.
I think they are working on some new stuff. So
is this just taking something off their plate, production off their plate?
It does sound like the working on new stuff logically would make sense that whatever new they're working on and this announcement coming out must be somehow related to each other, but I don't know.
What he says here makes it sound, we have significantly smoothed out the kinks in our production, so much so that for the foreseeable future, we will not do limited batches at the end of the month, and instead we'll have just a regular web shop where you can order whenever you like. I know, crazy, you can grab the M3K.
Maybe they just streamlined the maybe they're still like basically handmade or whatever, but they have streamlined it a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry, I used the word production, and that is wrong. They are saying continuous availability. Very different. So they're just able to now.
They probably still make them.
Maybe
they make a little bit ahead of time, but they probably don't have a continuous stock. Yeah, don't have a large inventory. I doubt that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's too much of a niche.
But it might be they just have an inventory now, even if it's only a dozen units, as opposed to before they were probably doing build to order.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Most of the time, you could not get an M3K, as far as I know.
Yeah, I know. They would go fast on used markets too.
Yeah.
Okay. I think this is the last. Whoops! Did I what? Well, I don't know what I did there. Anyway, the last mouse news that we have is the Attack Shark RS3. This is the one that you should definitely
avoid. RS3? That's the name of my car, that we talked about earlier.
And you can the
people need to come up with new names.
So this is a GPX clone. The Attack Shark X8 is their normal GPX clone. The RS3 is getting the stupid carbon fiber texture, 3955 max, and coming in at a price
not
point.
A physical product.
Not a physical. Oh, this is a listing for a pre-order deposit.
Ah, okay.
So the MSRP is $110. Do not pay that for an Attack Shark mouse. And this pre-order thing is you pay $1 USD to receive a $28 discount code, which allows you to lock in this price. I don't totally hate this pre-order deposit thing. I also don't love it either. I don't know. What do you think, bardOZ? Pre-ordering a mouse
I mean, this is more common in Kickstarters. Like, I've bought my Low-Free Flow Lite, which is a keyboard. Similarly, I've also seen it for GPD, Win, the portable PC consoles, like the Steam Deck competitors is more common. I've seen this as a... But then it's like you're pledging, and then the way you get the discount once it's there, but you're technically just pledging. It's kind of weird. Also, if they just announce it and it launches in 2 days, that doesn't really make much sense. That is weird. That I don't know.
Yeah. So my vibe is they're trying to gauge production capacity, but like they already have produced the units, right? So they already have a set inventory.
Maybe to decide on the next batch.
Maybe
so that they don't order too many
or too few.
It would make sense. Yeah.
So I don't know. I always understood from a Kickstarter standpoint because it's funding and gauging how much interest they're actually.
Of course, yeah. Because
the risk though then is you're buying as a consumer. You're buying from an unproven individual. There were some projects that were like regularly on Kickstarter. T-Evolution, the Terra mouse was Kickstarter originally, right? So there is like some trust.
Wooting, I think, started purely with Kickstarters.
Yeah, but this whole discount code thing, this $1 deposit that is non-refundable, I don't absolutely hate it because, like, technically, it's fairly
I'm worried
trivial.
that this is a way for people not to have access to warranty. I don't want to, I'm not claiming it, but I think maybe this is a way where, like, technically, because there's like gray areas where, like, technically maybe you're not buying the mouse, but you're buying some virtual thing, and then you get the mouse as a side of it, and then the way you're not necessarily entitled to. I've seen this, and I've heard it explained to me in a bunch of contexts. I'm not saying this is what they're doing, but I think in some nations it has implications like that, because technically people doing this aren't buying the mouse. The transaction isn't for the mouse, and to see that they're also highlighting not a physical product smells a little weird to me.
I know what you're saying. I think this example, it's probably not that, because Attack Shark has a history of, I mean, they actually have decent warranty service. They're sold on Amazon US all day long, which has all their hoops to jump through. But I do know what you're saying. It's like the whole, you will buy this and you will own nothing physical mentality of, oh no, you don't actually get the product. You just get a license to use the product.
Yeah, or like, oh, the product was a gift. What you bought was this other irrelevant virtual thing.
Yeah. Anyway, this mouse, we have a CNC metal scroll wheel.
Oh no.
The weight.
They have an AI generation image. You can see that it says Pixapt instead of Pixart.
Pixapt. Pixapartment. Yeah, dude, all these things are AI generated.
So Attack Shark also has done damage because they have a blog where every single post is AI generated, and many of those are technical things that I've had to disprove. I think it's
blog.
them. Yeah, they're all AI generated, and many of them, the technical things on mice are all completely hallucinated by the AI. So to see Pixapt.
Yeah, it's sad. And then these things are SEO optimized because they're, Shopify stores have traction.
So much so that people link them to me like as a source of a claim. Where I'm like, dude, this is literally AI hallucinations, and it's very obvious. Why are you linking it to me as proof of anything?
Yeah. ROM does the same thing too. ROM Gaming Mouse blog.
Yeah. ROM does it too.
Yeah. Why? Maybe this is an SEO thing.
It is 1000%. Yeah.
Yeah. Because then people
it's
Google
very old
search.
school SEO thing. Like try to create backlinks, and it's like old school. Because they all try to direct to consumer when they can, because the margins are way higher. So they want you on their website, and this is a great way.
Like this seems like a very Googleable, like normie thing you would ask, and then this thing comes up. Can gaming a mouse help my KD ratio? Yeah. Anyway, so
and now with LLMs, you can just make it, make 100 articles a day.
Yep. Anyway, specs for this mouse. Usually I like to get to right at the start, but Armor and opticals is just cool to see those. I don't know how Attack Shark is like one of the few still using them. Nordic 54L15, 500 milliamp hour battery, 63 plus or minus 3 grams. So this is going to be 66 grams with the skates. That's pretty disappointing to see.
Why would one get that over the A9?
Especially, well, it used to be that these were like $40, but that's not the case anymore. Yeah. I think it's aesthetics. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not at all interested. What's your opinion on armor and optical switches? Do you have a favorite switch?
So that's one of the things, like I said earlier, like skates, where people really want me to have an opinion, but the reality is that I have never had a preference. Ever. I've tried every possible micro switch, optical switch, and of course I have a Super Strike, bought it on day one. And I think it's just not that relevant. It's one of those things where, like I said earlier, for side buttons, it is not, to me, relevant. What matters is whether, if you're using SPDT, whether you implement the actuation on NC now, because that is relevant, which most... It's sad that the XOH doesn't do it. But you know, the GX speed from EGG that now most people are implementing, it's cool that the CR Draco Co 1 has it, for example, and the Lycan. But apart from that, I do tend to prefer actual mechanical switches if possible. Now, Kale, Omron, I wouldn't even be able to tell you which ones I prefer. I have a bunch also spare that I bought for my own mouse, and I don't know, I kept trying them, and I like them all. I really like the feeling of actual SPDT, old school, mechanical micro switches. Okay.
They also apparently have a new mouse pad on their website. I think bardOZ got like one of these from Temu. Anyway, $70, but it's small. I don't know. All seems like glass.
$70.
I wonder if these are on Amazon.
That's crazy.
Actually, I don't even care that much. Let's move on to actual mouse pads that we might care about. Tekkusai is teasing the Apex. This is a new fastest glide I've ever made. 500 by 450 by 1.5 millimeter glass, so it's real thin. Edgeless design. Look, you can see the edge rounding there. Dual layer hybrid coating. I don't know what that means exactly. Flattened peaks means you get a tactile feel without being abrasive. $119. Pre-orders open July 17th, and it ships in August. Fastest glide ever. Is there such a thing as too fast of a glide?
Yes. The issue with glass, though, is that the faster they get, usually the more the random friction, static friction for skin. Because of course, I mean, I main a fast pad. The PD170 is fast, so it's not like I don't like fast pads, but I do think that it is way more niche than people think, and most people should use a slower. I think 0 is the fastest a normal gamer should probably go to. Period. Unless they use extremely high sense, then you need a fast. Which we use fast for low friction interchangeably, because of course low friction is what causes the speed. Yeah. But you really only need a fast pad if you have a very high sense, because if you have a slow pad, which means it has a high friction, it becomes the smallest amount of movement that you can get once you break static friction is so high that it will be too meaningful for you to be able to aim. Yep. So I think that only if you're a very, very high sense player do you really have to use a faster pad. If not, I think most people are okay with mid to slow pads. But glass pads is kind of its own world.
What do you think of the artwork?
It looks really cool. I haven't seen sufficiently high resolution to know if it smells AI or not to me, but Tekkusai seems like a really cool guy, and I love the Ninja Speed V2, which no one has had a chance really to try apart from a couple of us, which I think is an insane pad. Mini God, which is one of the still top static gamers, mains it, and I really love it. So I don't have reason to assume that it's fishy, so it looks cool. At least it's on Anime Girl.
Yeah, so I feel like you and Tech would get along well. You guys are both business oriented and very, very detail oriented in the products.
We like each other's posts on Twitter a lot. We interact passively. We lurk each other a lot. We've never directly interacted much.
He came on and talked about AI art, and oh my gosh, I forget his exact take, and I feel terrible. But he does work with this individual for Glassworks and his pads. I forget if AI is used in the workflow or not, but he does work. He does pay a person at the end of the day. Maybe somebody in the comments can correct me.
I tend to like bright pads. I've always liked bright pads. I was so happy when I mained the red Heian for a long time purely for aesthetics, and then when the orange Zero was really happy. I'm really sad that the PD170 doesn't have a brighter color, but that's my issue with it. I wouldn't buy something with artwork like that. I told you earlier I would love like a colorful Ghibli style landscape, but it's a little edgy. I don't know. It's a little dark, gloomy. It's cool.
Star Warsy with like a lightsaber looking thing. The cat I don't like. I don't know. I don't like the cat, but Infinity Mice Ruin is a pad that I really like the artwork of. I just don't like the X-Soft base.
I've never been able to get my hands on anything Infinity Mice. It was always out of stock whenever I wanted to get.
Oh, really? I think they just announced, I think this week they announced, maybe it's US only stock, but they're restocking the Infinite Speed. Which is a good pad.
That was the one that I wanted because I think Maddie got a bunch of world records with it. So I was really, really curious to try it.
Yeah. Yeah, they make good stuff. I think they're worth, if you can, I don't know what the market is. I mean, what you buy from Max Gaming?
Yeah, in Europe, that's for most things that usually are US only. Max Gaming is the main point of contact in Europe.
Okay. Next bit of news is Tekkusai is also working on a friggin' mouse. This is big news. All we have so far is this teaser showing this dagger has a special name, right?
Kunai?
Kunai? Okay.
I think so.
I mean, that's cool. This looks more like a rendering than a real product photo, so... This is all we have? Ugh, this is all we have of the Tekkusai mouse. There were details on his Discord, but that was deleted, I guess. And it was the shape is a mashup of X2, Sora, and what else did Dad say? X2, Sora, and OP1? So we're going to probably get a small, medium Ambi?
He pinged CR Draco?
Yeah, I wonder what that means.
Maybe it's a variation of the Core 1 then?
I'd be cool
because the Core 1
with
is OP1 inspired, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think he's saying anything else. Well, yeah, we don't have any word on release date, but hey, I trust Tech is a very, very detailed, very, like, I will not release something unless I believe it's good type of person.
Which is why most people still, sadly, haven't been able to try the Ninja Speed V2, which again is very, very sick.
Yeah. I'm actually curious. Tekkusai Ninja Speed V2. Well, this is under the...
Well, it's... I don't remember the name of the brand, but...
Kurosan.
Kurosan.
Yeah, I don't even know if the website's going to have... Yeah.
He made a tweet about the reason why it's not out is that basically sitting on a lot of... I think it was the clothing. There was some issue where the engineering samples that he got, I think, were leaking ink or something. So he was very open that basically it just was, as you said, it was not up to his standard, and that's why it's not been out yet.
Okay.
But and he also specified that the version that I have, like he pinged me and Maddie tagged us, that the version we have is going to be the closest to what is going to be out. And that's a good pad. I wish it had a PD170 base with the surface of the Kurosan Ninja Speed 2 would be really, really interesting.
How would you describe the Ninja Speed V2 Surface compared to other? I'm assuming it's a spandex pad like an Artisan Raiden.
It is so the Raiden being like part polyester, part polyurethane, has that weird like sticky feeling for me. I don't know why. That's what happens when I use pads with the Raiden like surface. It becomes sticky to my skin the moment any amount of moisture is there. For some reason, and the Ninja Speed V1 also had that to some degree. Somehow, and this is what I kept saying is great about this pad, is that like the PD170, it is a fast pad that doesn't have it gets sticky on my skin, and it has a very interesting friction profile where it felt like once I got moving, it had very little dynamic friction, but it had sufficient static friction that it felt really nice to flick on, which I think is why Mini is maining it in Counter-Strike. It's just a really, really, really good pad. I'm pretty sure I have it right here in one of the many stacks of pads that I have around. No, this is the V1. No, this is the V1. No, yeah, it's this one.
Printing that's not easy.
Okay,
though.
no, it's not. This is the V1 because you can tell by the position. That one is the V2, which I think I also still have in the same pile. And also, something I like is it feels cool to the touch. I don't know why, but it feels cool to the touch.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. But it's under one of my glass pads. Yeah. So it's very different from it. The PD170 feels like cloth. This feels like some sort of like almost hybrid. Not purely cloth, but it's
like coated like nice. A Fnatic Jet.
So I have the Fnatic Jet. No, it doesn't feel like that because the Jet feels plasticky almost.
Yeah.
It feels like a Shidenkai that instead of glass use plastic. The Jet, whereas this feels like it has this weird texture too. It's really cool. I don't know if you can kind of see its texture to a degree, even though it's very smooth.
Okay.
So it's I don't know. It's very, very, very unique. Definitely a very unique pad. As you can see, it's fast. Like once it gets going, it goes. But then it has it has a pretty good amount of static friction, more than the PD170. But I think it has less dynamic friction than the PD170. So it's a very interesting friction profile.
Well, that's something exciting to look forward to. Okay.
Yeah. They also said that they were going to do a 50x50 maybe, which I've been like singing the praises of 50x50 as a mouse size, I think.
Why is that not the standard? Yeah.
I want all of my mouse pads to be. I know. I mean, the reason is that a lot of people don't have deep desks, which I understand.
And shipping, I hear.
Is
there's something about.
Game.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, speaking of large mouse pads, this is the last news that we have for this week. TheWhale, with his Laonda pads, looks like the Molten Edge Hard PU. He's working on a new base. More speed, more firmness. We lead, others follow. Maybe I shouldn't even be talking about this guy with you right now. But
I mean, you know that he said that he was gonna sue me. I'm still waiting for the letter. I haven't received it yet.
Yeah, I don't know. He's quite a polarizing guy, but personally, I actually do really like his pads. The Blitz is really good. I have not tried a Kaiser. Does anyone have any details on this? This person says, seems like a Smooth Criminal in Molten Edge version. I could see that. Smooth Criminal is a Laonda more controlled pad. I think it's the same weave as the Mousepad company. They have like a control and a speed version, and I think it's the same as the control. It's like a unique weave. It doesn't feel that unique in my opinion, but yeah. Anyway, I'm happy to see if this is a firmer base, like a Vaxi PD series. I think that's cool. Kaiser, I think, is that German for whale?
Is it?
What type of pad is Kaiser?
He's in Kaiser, like, I don't know, Caesar. It's one of those words.
Maybe.
Like,
yeah,
emperor. Like, I think they're all etymologically they all come from like the Latin for Caesar, which was like Kaiser, or Caesar, depending on. So someone in your chat asked, Ask bardOZ how good is the PD170 actually. I think we talked about it earlier, so it's probably in the VOD, but great. I love it. Best pad, I've never gone back.
Yeah. Okay. I think the final topic before we end it here. This r/mouse review post, I got tired of buying and returning mice to find the right shape, so I 3D printed a testing kit with the 8 most common shapes. And this is called Stratum. Scan the QR code for something. And we got here XM1, Death Adder V3, Vaxi XE. Is this... I don't know what this is. Is
Pretty sure a bunch of people are downloading my models for this stuff, which I said I'm okay with.
Yeah.
But I do wonder, I would love to get my hands on this to see, is it actually my model? Like to see if it has anything that
We have X2, Viper V2. Is this... What is this? Is this not OP? Is this OP1?
GPX2? That looks very GPX-y.
Yeah, the buttons look really flat though. I don't know. Could also be something with the camera. And then this is, I think, another. This is a Vaxi, a Zowie. I actually don't know all
looks
these
like an
shapes.
S2 maybe. It's hard to tell with perspective.
Yeah. Anyway, so what do you think, bardOZ, of these kinds of shape test kit products? Do you think they are viable? Do you think you could recommend them?
I think they're useful, but I've said this openly. One of the things I want to do with FindMyMouse is basically find the right partner so that I can have global distribution and make it so that you can do something like this, where you can buy like a set of 8 or 15 or whatever different price points, but you pick which ones after you see them in 3D. I think it's valuable because how else are you gonna do it? But also I think if I already know that I don't like 4 of those shapes, it's pointless for me to be forced into not being able to pick and choose what I want in the bundle. So something I want to do is find the right partner so that you can pick a set after you see them on FindMyMouse and only get those 3D printed shapes. Yeah. I probably shouldn't talk about all of my product plans openly in case people try to get first mover, but I've never cared. I think it's always about execution. And also everyone wins if someone else does it. I think it's a cool thing.
This guy says, what I ended up with was 8 hollow shells, each modeled after one of the most common mouse shapes, archetypes: fingertip, long, flat shells, palm, asymmetrical, etc. Each shell opens with a bayonet-style twist mechanism, and inside there's room for up to 4 weight chips, 10 grams each for up to 40 weights, to simulate heavier mice of the same shape. That's a unique take, sure. The idea is to isolate 2 variables that matter the most, geometry and weight. Sure.
The M dashes to me are always kind of a telling. I think this AI written, I don't want to claim that it is, but just recently I have a knee-jerk reaction when I see anything with M dashes like that.
I know sometimes people, when English isn't their first language, they'll use AI to write it. But
the issue is that the AI usually also adds things and flavors and claims.
Yeah.
Geometry and weight are the 2 variables that matter the most. I don't know if I agree with that take. So many variables that might matter more.
Here's this dude's Instagram. Wait, this is... Dude, look at his nails. Those are some impressive fingernails.
Are they human fingernails or are they AI-generated fingernails? Because
these are AI.
Yeah, just saying, look at the mouse pad behind those nails. The hexagons don't all close. It's supposed to be a geometric pattern, but you can see in the right side there's an hexagon that doesn't. Yeah, it's I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm sure that I always assume the best in people, but AI always makes me a little concerned.
Yeah, something that got me in this photo, I didn't want to say it, but the bubble wrap looks weird. This isn't... Bubble wrap looks like this. It doesn't look ripply like this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Here's hexagons again, but they're different. They fade out. I don't know, dude. Maybe he has a product idea and he's using AI to gauge sentiment.
Yeah. I think that's what this person's doing. Yeah, I'm sure the product is real and it's a good idea. Like it's just, I'm just like after you see it enough times, you start just being on guard. You know, I don't know how to explain it. So maybe it's a good idea, but I think there's better ways to validate your product market fit without going so deep in AI.
Yeah. Okay. Italy. Dude, you should meet up.
What? Is this an Italian person?
I don't know. It says Italy. Do we have any other? I don't know how to. Engineering made in Italy, independent lab, loading under construction. Daz.
What are we looking at here? I returned.
AI generated kits that you can buy.
Well, to do business legally, they have to put their, like I did in FindMyMouse, their Partita IVA anywhere. So maybe I can stalk them if they have. Interesting.
Maybe this is why I couldn't. Yeah. Like this is not a mouse, right? I don't know of anything that has this ridge along the.
I think it looks closest to a Vaxi mouse, but it's
also
not,
no USB. Well, I mean, they could have deleted out the.
So is the one on the edge here, Viper 2 Pro.
Scroll wheel looks off on the XE.
Yeah.
Not to mention you can't. You didn't. The mice are standing up.
Well, if you print them like that, but the issue is that they will only stand up if there was the skirt. Because I have the same plate for my bamboo lab, and I don't know. It definitely looks a little, at least AI edited.
Yeah. Okay.
That does not look like what I have in my 3D printer, even though it claims to be the same thing. And they wouldn't stand up like that, I think, without a. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, this phase 0, phase 1. Yeah.
As we were wrapping up.
Yeah. I figured even if I could say goodbye, that works.
Okay. Do you have any last questions for bardOZ, Daz?
Give us a 1-minute synopsis of your thoughts on the human benchmark test and everything wrong with it.
I think that there's nothing wrong with it per se. I think that they have been technically always very precise. If you open it, it says in the bottom right. My main issue is with what people. So if you click on reaction time, and that thing about the test, that is what caused so much damage. I think there was no malice on their end, but people read the average and then parentheses median, which is also like, okay, is it the average or it's? I think they mean the average median of, as in you do a test of 5 and then the median of those 5, and then you average it across humans, which is a little left open for interpretation. Reaction time is 173 according to the data collected so far. Then people see that and they say, or even if you go further down, an average human reaction time may fall between 200 and 250, and then you find people everywhere that are like, the average human reaction time is more than 200 milliseconds. Now that statement is not substantiated by what they're saying here at all, because when this average of everyone that runs the test, so anyone that runs it on a laptop or a phone is also counted here. They're saying the average result of the test is 273 milliseconds, but that doesn't mean that the average human reaction is not, because if you formalize it, you see that then it's the average of human reaction time plus anything else in the pipeline, which can be monitor, browser, computer itself, input device. So touchscreen inherently has a ton more latency than a mouse. A trackpad has a ton more latency than a mouse. So I think there's nothing wrong with it per se. It's a simple thing. Their business seems to always have been these little mini games in school. It's just people, they don't care to make sure that they're super precise, because also this is a mini game that was used outside of gaming for a long time too. I've seen this, it's old, and it's, I can't blame them. That little about the test, I think, has been unchanged for 10 years, for a long time. The issue is people just, as per usual, not understanding what they're reading and then using, same way with Battle Nonsense and Optimum's videos on DPI and latency. Their data is not wrong. They had no malice, but then people don't just take a conclusion and then use it to make up other conclusions that are not actually substantiated with their conclusion, and then they just keep repeating them infinitely online, and then attack you if you say that it's not the case. So human benchmark are completely okay. It's a fun game for, like, you know, it's nothing serious. It has a lot of latency and variance. So I have an open source C, I think it's written in C, local program, like a Win32 app that you can use for measuring your reaction time. That is way more precise because it adds basically zero overhead, because it's based on the same code that I use for my button testing, which I know, again, I can get sub 2 milliseconds end to end, so there's no real overhead. It's purely reaction time.
Right.
Of course, if you want to do something more precise, you should use something like that. But I think human benchmark is fine, and that's why the video I made was with my mom. Because, I mean, see, it's not human benchmark the problem, because if my mom can get 170 average and 150, what do you think is more likely? That a 66 years old non-gamer Italian mom is like 2 standard deviations faster than the median, or that this isn't human reaction time? People, of course, did not understand what I was saying. But
Yeah,
it is what it is.
I appreciate the explanation. I figured it'd be good for people to hear that one more time. So,
Yeah.
Cool. Now I have in my search history bardOZ mama.
Hopefully you do not message her, do not find her, do not stalk her. I will know if you do.
Yes.
Okay, with that, I think we are done. Dude, bardOZ, thank you so much for the generous time and for coming on. This was really, really a lot
Thank you
more
guys for
fun than I
inviting me.
even thought.
Likewise.
How can people find you if they liked what they saw and they want to follow?
So I mean, on my I'm maybe even too active on my Discord. There's not a single ping that I receive on my Discord that I don't respond to at length, which sometimes people are like, why are you doing this? And the other one is Twitter. Twitter and Discord are the 2 places where I'm the most active when it comes to projects or anything else. So if anyone wants to talk to me or interact with me, I'm very, very, very approachable. Just come to Discord and I'm always there and I'm going to respond.
Sweet. Okay. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll be back next week. Probably our regular scheduled time, Daz. Are you going to be traveling?
I will be on a plane.
Okay.
Probably. Or we could do third. Well, we'll see.
We'll talk. Yes.
We'll figure it
follow
out.
MouseCast on Twitter for the official time. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you guys so much for watching.
See you.